This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information. It's a Monday night, and times are changing. Literally and figuratively, the times are changing now here as the sun is going down a little bit earlier now on this Monday night, September 23rd, 2024. We are back, folks, on C2C at night in place of our good friends over at Bro Code on this Monday night, September 23rd, 2024 for C2C at night. Alongside that man, James Gonzalez up in Oceanside, California. Yours truly, Callan McClure, joining you folks here in the heart of San Diego this evening. Mr. Gonzalez, final week of the baseball season is here. NFL Week 3 in the rearview mirror and a very chaotic day of college realignment while NHL training camps open up and preseason action gets underway. Big game, James. As always, man, good to see you, man. Welcome aboard. How we doing tonight?
The sports world never stops turning, and you just explained it all, and we'll get to it all. And you know what? I think with all the football action and what was going on Saturday and Sunday, I think I caught some of the Buffalo Sabres preseason game. So that was kind of odd, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch a little bit of it, see what I can find out. And it was just hey, it's this time of year where everything's going. Eventually the NBA will be back and the training camp of that will go and media day and all that. That's when you'll have all those funny pictures and stories. It's a good time of year.
It is a good time of year, man. You know, Major League Soccer is coming down their stretch run of the season. Again, the baseball playoffs are about a week or so away. NBA training camps are underway. The WNBA playoffs are underway. NFL is still 3-4 weeks old. College football is 4 weeks old. We already have bowl game projections already being released by ESPN.com, if you can believe that, on ESPN+.
No.
And not just that, again, as we already mentioned, though, as well, a chaotic day in college athletics concerning realignment. We'll get to all that, folks, and more on this Monday night here of C2C at night. As always, folks, Callan McClure and James Gonzalez, again, coming your way every Monday night at usually 11 o'clock in the evening to recap of the day in sports on a Monday and also to kind of recap Monday Night Football and talk about some big stuff from the course of the weekend as well. But of course, folks, if you're joining us here tonight on C2C at night, again, via the Coast to Coast Facebook page, YouTube channel, or the Callan McClure and Callan Max Sports Twitch channel, I should say. Again, if you have a question, a comment, concern, or a hot take or a cold take, please, again, don't be shy. Drop them in the live chat box. We'll do our absolute best to ensure that your commentary is read live on the air this evening on this Monday. All right, James. We've entered the final week of the regular Major League Baseball season. And, James, you probably saw, man, I put a poll out on my IG story today in collaboration with C2C's IG account and basically gave voters 4 options for what race are you watching as we now enter the final home stretch here of the baseball regular season. James, we had 43% of respondents pick the National League wildcard race. 29% picked the National League West Division race, while the American League Central and wildcard races came in at a 14% clip. Now, James, let's talk about that NL wildcard real quick, my man. The Giants did the Padres and Mets a favor. They beat the D-backs in Phoenix tonight 6-3, capped off by 3 homers hit in that ballgame, including Matt Chapman hitting a 2-run inside the park home run, just beyond the reach of Jake McCarthy in left center field. It rolled off the fence. It rolled back to middle center field, and Chapman slid in just ahead of the throw to the plate for the 3-1 lead. And the Giants came out and really clobbered Arizona pitching in this game, which now I believe, James, opens up the door for the Mets now who pick up a half-game lead over Arizona for that number 2 spot, while the Padres now move 4.5 games clear of the bottom third, or the third wild card team for the number 1 overall spot in the race. So, James, a bit of a hiccup here for Arizona. The Mets are still red hot right now. The Braves are almost in the rearview mirror, 2.5 games now out of the number 3 spot in the postseason party. Padres again coming off the sweep of the White Sox, a 5-1 homestand. You were there on Friday night, I believe, to watch the walk-off victory over the White Sox. But James, this is going to be a chaotic week because, man, all 3 teams in some way are facing some stiff competition. Again, the Padres will be in Los Angeles starting on Tuesday. Arizona continues their series with San Francisco, and the Mets open up a series with the Braves, which will have massive playoff implications. So, James, your thoughts entering the final week of the season, but more importantly, James, on that NL wildcard race.
Yeah, I picked it in that poll as the most intriguing. I should have said the American League wild card as well, but
they're both wild though, man. But I think that NL one is just a little bit more compelling because Atlanta now has a chance to kind of in a way punch back at the Mets and get back into the thick of things here.
That's definitely true. Atlanta just 1.5 back of Arizona for that 3rd spot. You know, I was watching that Diamondback game, or the 7th inning on, I think, and I already heard about what happened with the Giants spoiling the party for Arizona. And I was hearing Bartholomew mentioning, hey, it's going to be a wild week. Anything can happen. Braves have to take care of their business and just hope, whomever in front of them loses, basically. The Padres, from what I saw, have the best record from the break. I think like 40-17, I want to say.
40-17.
Yeah, that's just amazing.
For a ball club, James, that was 50-50 at the All-Star break.
I screenshotted that picture of what I saw today. I was just amazed by that. I think they had 5 sweeps in that time as well.
They swept Washington. They swept Pittsburgh twice, so that's 3. The White Sox 4, and I'm forgetting one more, but there's 5.
Yeah. So, they definitely took care of business.
San Francisco.
Oh, that's right. So they're just coming in hot right now. It's a great thing. With the Dodgers, not locking up that West just yet, but it'll be time eventually. Padres just focus on getting that home field advantage in that series. I was just trying to figure out, like, who would you want to see being the Padre fan? Would you want to see Arizona? Would you want to see the Mets just based on the rotation? You don't trust Arizona's rotation right now. Braves have all the injuries, but they're sticking in there with their power. I'm just wondering that. I was sitting there Friday just thinking, like, man, the Mets could be here for a 3-game series. That would be intriguing with, Pete Alonso getting the standing go at Citi Field on Sunday. Could be the last at bat there. But and whomever it will be, the Padres should hold on, I'm guessing, for that 1st spot. But who would you want to see in that 1st round? Who would you rather see out of those 3, New York, Arizona, Atlanta?
Yeah, that's a good question, James. And it's kind of been a lot like trying to figure out who would your 3-man rotation be for the wild card round if you don't win the division championship. Would you go King, Cease, Musgrove? I've heard a lot of that, in the local media once, as the Padres continue to kind of build towards, clinching that number 4 seed and having home field. Arizona, though, man, it's a divisional opponent. You see them 10, 13 times a season. You kind of know them inside and out. Now, again, you haven't played them since July when, you had a very wonky series with them in San Diego where you had a massive lead. You blew it. You had a walk-off homer to win a game in that series, and you faltered in 2 very close games on Saturday and Sunday. And now you're stuck at 5-5 entering the final 3 games. That, I think, James, would be intriguing because then you would have to play him again, but it'd be in San Diego. Then you would think about the Mets, who would have to fly across the country. Now, I know there's an off day from Sunday to game 1 on Tuesday. But, though, they did play it pretty damn tough this year. I think they won 6 of the games of the, 6 games of the series. the Padres beat Atlanta pretty good in Atlanta back in May. Then the Braves came here and kind of in a way spoiled things in July before the All-Star break. I think they won 2 out of 3. But again, the Braves are so beat up right now. So I really would probably think you're kind of hoping, I think, for Atlanta. The only problem, though, James, is playoff experience. The Braves have been there for so many years, though. Again, the Padres have been there over the past, 4 to 6 seasons, but the Braves have the track record of the longer, NLCS's World Series trip and the championship in 2021. That's a little bit sketch, even though I know they've had injuries. Mets are just red hot right now, and I think you get 2 red hot teams in there. That could be intriguing. But then it's the drama of like a divisional rival again playing against San Diego. Then if you win that, you got to face Philadelphia more than likely because they're going to probably be the number 1 seed. So I would probably go Arizona just for the fact it's close. And you've played them well all year. It's a 5-5 record. But, James, I'd rather play them in San Diego than have to go and play them in Phoenix in that ballpark. Because James, any ball hit in the air in that ballpark is usually clearing the fence for a home run.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Whew. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Arizona, because you never know, New York can get on a hot streak and rally the troops together. And I remember that series they had at Petco, and Mets, I think, took
it was
2
a
out of
wash.
3.
It was a split for
it was 4-game
for
series.
both
That's
teams.
right. That's right. So I don't think I would want to face the Mets, and the Braves, like you mentioned, despite the injuries, have the playoff experience. And the Diamondbacks right now, their bullpen isn't good, and their rotation isn't as good as it would be. And you know them, and you could probably get through their lineup better than everybody else, I would say. So, yeah, I'd go Arizona as well.
Yeah, and I know, James, too, that AJ Cassavell wrote today that there's still an outside chance of the Padres snagging that division championship, but they would probably have to sweep this series. And I really feel good about Tuesday and Thursday. I don't know about Wednesday with the fact of I believe they have Jack Flaherty pitching on Wednesday, but they have Landon Knack throwing on Tuesday, and then a very shaky, iffy, inconsistent Walker Buehler throwing on Thursday. But then the Padres got their 3 aces, basically, in King, Cease, and Musgrove, all to face the Dodgers. And I think that's all you can ask for, James, is just having a shot at the division title. And I think if they sweep, they basically go into a tie with LA, but they have that tiebreaker for the first time in forever over the Dodgers. Then you would just basically hope that you can win a couple of games in Arizona, hope that the Rockies can spoil things for the Dodgers in Denver. But again, James, I think, though, that's the main thing that I have said, though, is that, and I think it was brought up, I believe, last night by 2 of my really good media colleagues, and John Schaefer and Jim Russell on their Padre postgame show on YouTube. If you were to look back, James, at the last, I'd say 7 seasons, look at the games back next to San Diego behind Los Angeles. And I think, James, we may have touched base on this here on C2C at night about how the Dodgers really have never been challenged for a division title this late in a season until now the final week. They're not clinching, they haven't clinched it like they have in the past, like on September 10th or the 3rd day of September, because they'd be 25, 30 games ahead of the pack in the NL West division.
Yeah, and then I heard people say, well, it might be good for the Dodgers not to, just have almost a month off and knowing it. And you've seen the way the postseason has ended the last 3 years. Well, maybe they need this, but they didn't expect all the injuries to their starting pitchers.
I was just going to say, I'm sure it's like, yeah, this is cool, but we have no starting pitching.
Yeah, and Bobby Miller is not the Bobby Miller from last year, so that's a really bad
Walker
thing.
Buehler is still shaking off the rust, and he's been very up and down, up and down.
He gives up the long ball way too much this year. Yeah, I see that 3 back. I always think of 96.
Yes.
How that series ended on the last weekend of the season. All those old MLB, season in reviews and those big series at the end to try to get in or try to beat your rival, and it happens to be the last weekend. It's cool how I know it's not the last weekend, but it's great how it all
It's
comes
still the
down to
last
this
week,
six.
though.
Yeah, it's perfect how the way it is. Even with the schedule being changed and less divisional games, at least put it at the end and make it fun. It was odd too. Again, being at that White Sox game on Friday against San Diego, I was there in 2022 and against the White Sox, and that felt weird to be there in September uh, against the White Sox. And same thing happened in 2024. I was sitting right there by the Chicago dugout, man. I don't even know if they care about the record or whatever, but man, you could just tell everybody's morals down. Grady Sizemore trying to, rally the troops in a way, patting everybody.
That's all you really
going
can
in.
do in a
Yeah,
season like that, sadly.
yeah. It's just it's historic. I mean, the wrong way, and I was just intrigued sitting there. Uh, but it was just one of those things in baseball history. It's like, hey, at least I was there for that. But I know that's on the opposite side of things, but it was just interesting to note being there and just seeing how they go about things. And but yeah, the Padres have handled things, and I can't wait for the next 3 games. Actually, the whole rest of this regular season, to be honest.
And then, James, the American League wild card is just as much of a cluster as the National League. And all of a sudden, man, the Tigers are roaring in the Motor City. They have come from absolutely way out of left field and have entered the chat now, while the Twins have faded. Now the Royals are starting to fade. And here, James, 4 of the 5 teams in the American League Central are above 500, and they are all in some capacity jockeying for playoff seeding. Again, the Guardians have won that division title, but then the Twins have scuffled. The Royals have struggled. Now the Tigers are all of a sudden entering the fray here, where literally, I think, James, all 3 wild card teams, maybe minus the American League East winner, 2 of them are going to be American League Central teams, and it's going to suck for the team who's left out, on the street corner. But, James, who do you like right now? The surging Tigers, or do you still like some experience with Minnesota, or even that very intriguing ball club in Kansas City? Or is that Vinny Pasquantino injury too much to overcome right now for the Royals?
That's what I'm thinking. I think I mentioned that last or week
2 weeks
before.
ago, yes.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that injury is going to derail their offense a little bit. You can only do so much, but the power has to come from their main source. Whew. Four, like you mentioned, 4 out of the 5 of the AL Central are doing their part, and just have that one team just weighing the rest of the division down. Now, I had it opposite this year. I thought, okay, Minnesota's going to win the division, and there's not going to be a wild card coming out of that. And the fact that you could have 2 out of that is just amazing to me. But yeah, Detroit, I think it was since August 20th has had just just a ridiculous
outrageous record.
Just I couldn't believe it when I read it. It was amazing to me, just thinking that could ever happen. I mean, you think about before that, they were just down in the dumps. You really didn't think they were really anything. Yeah, the Tigers were 55-63 at the end of play on August 10th. Okay, now they're 82-74. So it's just amazing how they've gone. It's a great story. It saved AJ Hinch's job, I believe.
Agreed.
I really thought if they were not going to be close like they used to be in July, I thought maybe they could pull like the Reds and fire David Bell. But yeah, I want to see what the Twins have left. I know. I think we were talking about Badelli calling out the players. Seattle Mariners are still there, 1 game and a half, and we thought they were dead. But they have the power enough to do it. But they're facing the Astro team right now that's really good, trying to win their division. I think with a Astro win or a Mariner loss against them, the Astros win the West. But I saw Alvarez will be out the rest of the series, and that really hurts him. Especially if that, oh God, and if that lingers throughout the wild card series or whatever, that will really hurt my World Series preview or prediction. Yeah, so I guess you got sometimes you got to go with the hot hand of the Tigers. Um, but man, Kansas City's pitching has been really good all year long, and I don't trust the Twins or the Mariners. Just something happens with their pitching in Seattle that just screws them up. So I think it stays the way it is. I think Detroit gets that second, and the Rails take the third spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Tigers have enough to hang on. I think the Twins have just been crushed by the injury bug, James, as we've seen. With Buxton going down for a while, Correa going down, their starting pitching has not been quite the same this season. And then the Royals, James, you really hope, and I hate to use this comparison, but I think back to that 95 California Angels team who probably wasn't supposed to be there at the very end. And they lost Gary DiSarcina to a thumb injury, sliding into second base. And that team blew a 9.5 or 10.5 game lead to the Mariners, who came kind of like, the Tigers did, surged out of nowhere, forced a 1-game playoff, and then beat California 9-1 to win the American League West division. You hope that the Royals don't suffer that same fate. But I do, James, think that it is interesting that you had said, though, that it'll be just the AL division winner makes it and no one else makes it. Now, all of a sudden, we could have 2 teams or 3 teams make it from the American League Central into the wild card race. And, James, you led me down a great rabbit hole, though. But, of course, another casualty on the managerial home front with David Bell being fired over the weekend by the Cincinnati Reds after a brief about 4 to 6 year tenure, 1 playoff berth back in 2020. But really, James, a team with a lot of, young talent still learning on the fly, but David Bell, again, shown the door following Sunday's game with the Reds. And James, I think there's a lot of good talent there, but maybe not panning fruit right now or bearing fruit right now, even at this stage of the season. James, reaction to David Bell being let go by the Reds on Sunday following their ball game.
Yeah, I actually wasn't shocked. I mentioned to my friend on Friday, there's a good chance Bell gets fired. You look at Ollie Marmol of the Cardinals. I don't care if they got extensions. I think the Angels are a prime example of signing managers to deals, but they never stick around for the whole thing. Think of Awesomeness and Madden and others before that, I guess. But Reds, I look at the run differential; they're plus 14. But they should be better than what they are. They're 76 and 81. I think 4th in that Central. They were supposed to be competing for a wild card. Let's just say they had a great season last year. I say great just because the expectations were not there. You're literally bringing up all your kids, and you're just hoping that they progress, right? Hunter Green, I know, was injured often this year, and the offense wasn't hitting as they should be. And it just goes back maybe to a manager being there too long, hearing the same voice. All I know, he stuck up for his players a lot. And he also got temperamental, let's just say, with the umpires and with the other teams as well, the opponents. I remember Bell and Clint Hurdle having an issue a lot with those Reds and Pirate teams. But man, I kind of knew this was going to happen just based on expectations. The Reds have been down since 2020. And they just need a jolt. They need to get back to winning. I remember this isn't a team that can, go out and get free agents, really. That's not their market, So they're going to have to do it through the draft, and they have. They're also going to have to make some good trades and get better quicker to justify, hey, you just signed David Bell to extension. Now you fire him. So they're just one team that just really has to wake up. And we saw that today or yesterday with David Bell being fired.
Yeah, I think it's head scratching, James, when you extend the manager like that. To me, is like the vote of confidence. If it's a team like the Reds or the Tigers or whoever, you give that manager an extension like we're putting our faith and trust in you. Yet, though, when the results don't pan out like they have with the Reds or any team who does that, then it's like the trust is broken. Like I don't quite get the logic behind it. Now, again, maybe the voice was getting old. Again, maybe maybe some of his on-field antics with the ejections kind of got old, maybe with management too. But I think though the Reds got a solid group there. India and De La Cruz and some really, I think talented individuals on that team, and maybe they just need the right voice there. But I think it's still very, very weird to be firing managers this late in the season. But again, David Bell, folks, let go by the Reds following their game on Sunday. Also, James, some news breaking in baseball on Monday. That was the very kind of surprising announcement, but longtime Rockies outfielder Charlie Blackmon announced his intentions on Monday to call it a career after 14 years playing in the Mile High City. Led, of course, the Rockies of a 2017 NL wildcard game against the Diamondbacks, and again had a 14-year run with Arizona, becoming really the guy in the face of the franchise following the trade of Dexter Fowler to St. Louis or to Houston in roughly 2011 or 2014. James, again, great guy. Again, one of the pillars of this era of Rockies baseball for sure. And I think James, part of me was wondering if the franchise's direction and the amount of losing that they've been doing recently has kind of in a way maybe taken a mental toll on Charlie Blackmon. Again, he really doesn't have a lot of really talented guys around him, maybe except for Ezekiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle, Brendan Rodgers. Like there's some promising guys, but I wonder though, James, if the losing and the lack of star talent around him kind of caught up to him as he made up his mind on Monday, made that announcement earlier on Monday afternoon.
I thought he was done last year because his contract ran out, and then he signed him to a 1-year deal. So it's kind of surprising that he stuck around for one more year. Also, I found out Bud Black has the most wins now in Colorado Rocky managerial history. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Crazy.
I'm thinking like, wait, didn't they have Clint Hurdle?
They had Clint Hurdle and like Don Baylor when they became a franchise was their manager in '93. Like Buddy Black already passed all those guys.
And he's one that got an extension. And Davey Martinez as well. But it feels like those teams, like with Colorado, like you mentioned, they're not ready to ascend yet. Like Cincinnati is, but they're stuck right now. But Colorado and Miami, Washington, they're all down there. So with Charlie Blackmon, he's been around a while, 14-year career with the Rockies. Probably have his number retired there. 4 All-Star appearances, 2 Silver Slugger awards. I remember he was a decent outfielder, and then because of injuries, he had to be a DH basically when that rule came in. All I can remember about him too, he would kill the Padres, home or away.
Don't remind me, please.
He was just one of those guys was really hard to pitch to, altitude or not. It didn't matter. He was that good hitting wise. And then I'll always remember his walk-up song in Denver, and when they had crowds there, they would yell tonight when his walk-up song would be coming up. I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's just another Rocky gone. And you think about, when he was around and when he came up in 2014, I think that was a time where they still had Carlos Gonzalez, but he was on his way out. Troy Tulowitzki was traded to Toronto. So that was a time of transition for the Rockies, and they had him luckily to keep going. So yeah, Charlie had a good career. It's not Hall of Fame, but it's good enough, I think, to get his number retired eventually by Colorado.
Yeah, James, you brought up a good point though about the fan engagement with the song by the outfield and how everyone would yell tonight when it would come to that part of the song. But I agree, though, James, that he was a dangerous hitter regardless of who he played. Now, yes, he killed the Padres for his whole career, but he always, I think, though, James, as well, always had a knack for that clutch hit,
Yeah.
clutch walk-off homer, clutch RBI base hit. And certainly is, I think, and like I said, though, James, I think he is one of the pillars of at least the current day Rocky organization, which again has not been full of a lot of great moments, minus that 2017 run to the wild card game. But, you talked about him kind of in a way becoming the torchbearer after Tulowitzki's departure. Carlos Gonzalez kind of in a way hit himself out of Major League Baseball after he had a couple of good, decent seasons. And I think he got plagued by injuries and that he became that guy. And I do, James, still wonder a bit, though, if, the lack of star players around him or just the losing, kind of in a way took a toll on Charlie Blackmon. But again, folks, Charlie Blackmon officially earlier on Monday, announcing his intentions to retire at the end of the season. I can confirm that MLB Network has already announced that the Rockies will do like basically a week-long celebration for Charlie at the ballpark up in Denver. And we will go from there. But again, wishing Charlie Blackmon all the best, and really one of the good guys in Major League Baseball who called it a career on Monday. With that, James, the other big elephant in the room, pun intended, of course, is this final week, James, also in a way, is the end of an era for the Oakland Athletics, who again will play their final 3 games of their time in Oakland Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday afternoon against the Texas Rangers. But of course, James, that comes on the heels, though, my man, of 2 things. For one, I can also report real quick that the A's have already, in a way, the ball club and the league front office, James, have already told the players and the staff, once the last out is recorded of the last game, don't hang around, get out of Dodge while you can, because there's a lot of reports, James, of, fan violence might be breaking out. Once that final game is completed, the players have been told to not come on the field for pictures with their families after the games are over at all this week. They're putting, James, a lot of interesting safety measures in place. I've heard reports that the Oakland Police Department will step up their enforcement throughout the course of the final homestand, along as well with maybe riot squads and riot police also being on hand for what I think, James, will be a very, very tense atmosphere for 3 games, James, that are in fact sold out, because this is the final time ever, James, that we can call them the Oakland Athletics. But James, your overall stance, I guess, man, about kind of the final moments of this franchise in Oakland, kind of in a way being put down the drain of like, we can't risk anyone's safety when it comes to what may happen during the course of his last 3 games at the Coliseum up in Oakland.
Luckily that Thursday game's a 12:37 start.
Even then, though, I still would be concerned about it.
But I think it's a different type of fans than when the Raiders in 2019, or it was January, I think January of 2019. Now that was because it was Raider fans. That
is true.
They were Raider fan. Yeah, so we saw the videos that last game against the Jaguars where they were kicking their chairs and taking them home with them, running on the field. You might have a bunch of people running on the field. That's a baseball thing.
Oh, the band's out of the field.
Yeah, you're gonna have that. There's no doubt about that. I'd be worried definitely about the game before that on Wednesday.
Fair.
Just because it's night, but yeah, I'm going to be tuned in to both of these games. Probably, maybe all 3. I don't know. I'll have it on during the Padre game, but just to see how the crowd reacts, and of course we heard all season, 2-3 seasons. So Fisher sucks, all this crap. But it's all warranted. I was good this came up because I was watching on my break at work a lot of YouTube videos from the news channels up in the Bay, and they were covering the Sunday game, and they were talking about people going, and that was their last game was Sunday because they're priced out of the last 3 games, because remember, those have been jacked up. The parking has been jacked. Everything's been jacked up
jacked up
because it is the last game allegedly in Oakland for now. But yeah, I expect just a lot of people running on the field and disrupting the game. It's a free area there in the Bay Area, as you know. So, um, but yeah, I don't see it too chaotic just because it's a different type of fan base. It's not a football fan base anymore. A's fans, I've never met a rowdy one or a bad one. I really haven't.
Same.
So,
Maybe one disgraced former co-host of ours on this network.
ugh. So yeah, I know you expect anything. I know security's going to be tight there, and OPD will be there as well. But yeah, I just expect a lot of people running on the field, disrupting things, but nothing too brash. And those are all good precautions because of what happened there years ago, though. And it's also kind of a bad look, I think, as well in the organization, just to um, I think screw the fans one more time in a way. Not to even have like the players come out and tip their caps and everything.
I was even told, James, that they put a kibosh on Mark Kotsay even grabbing the mic and saying thank you to the fan base
Oh,
after the final game. Like how low can you go as an organization?
that's
Seriously.
Fisher. That's Fisher. And just hearing that, and he brought out that statement today as well.
Which I will read in
Talking,
a second.
and I just, everybody had the negative reaction. I'll let you read it because it really pissed me off today.
Yeah, I mean, James, and literally, I made it a point when the Athletics came to San Diego for like the final time as the Oakland Athletics. Like, I got to go to a game. I got to
Yeah.
go and see this franchise play one more time as how we know them or how we grew up with them as them playing in Oakland and things like that. And I saw a lot of A's fans who had traveled to the games because they didn't want to go to any home games to give Fisher any of their money. I flagged down a few. A friend of mine had gotten one of the flags from the last dive bar fan group, and he had the sell flag behind the A's dugout. There are a bunch of sell flags at Petco, and obviously the hashtags of Fisher sucks and FJJF, basically. And literally, it felt in a way, James, like you had said about that final game with the Raiders playing the Jaguars and how people had, kicked out the chairs and took them home. It reminded me a little bit, kind of in a way, a very weird way, about like former NFL fans enjoying baseball, the former Charger fan base in San Diego and the former Raider fan base bonding over baseball, and that we both have lost our NFL teams. I wanted to first say hello and shout out a new viewer joining us, Kevin Cherry, joining us via the C2C Facebook page. Kevin, thanks for being here, my man, and we hope you're having a great Monday night. But with that, though, James, as mentioned, though, folks, James is going to let me have the floor to read this very phony baloney statement from John J. Fisher that was released today and put out by outlets. This one is courtesy of Matt Schneider from CBS Sports, and I will probably, in a way, do some voice changes just because I like to do this to mock people like Dean Spanos and John J. Fisher. With that, here is the official statement from John J. Fisher, who, oh, by the way, misspelt Loma Prieta when he talked about the earthquake in Game 3. Anyway, pull up a chair. Here we go. To our Oakland Athletics fans, this upcoming series with the Texas Rangers will be the final games of the A's storied 57-year history in Oakland. And while the A's previously played in Philadelphia and Kansas City, Oakland has been home for the greatest era in this franchise's more than 123-year history. Give me a break. 4 World Series championships, 16 pennants, and 17 division titles. Who cares? 7 Baseball Hall of Famers, Charlie Finley and his mule, Billy Ball, Reggie and his incomparable swagger, Raleigh and his handlebar mustache, Dave Stewart and the stare. You got to be kidding me, right? Bill King's Holy Toledo, Ricky, the single greatest leadoff hitter in baseball history. The list goes on and on and on. Triumphs, near misses, the 1989 Loma Prieta, misspelt, earthquake in Game 3 of the Bay Bridge Series, the 20-game winning streak, Hollywood movies and books, and an unmatched cast of players, coaches, and fans We've had it all. Are we sure about that? And that, I know, is what makes our departure so very hard. Skid grief. The A's are part of the fabric of Oakland. Heard that before. The East Bay and the entire Bay Area, please. But when Lou Wolf and I bought the club in 2005, our dream was to win world championships and build a new ballpark in Oakland. And over the next 18 years, we did our very best. No, you didn't. To make that dream happen. We proposed and pursued 5 different locations in the Bay Area, please. And despite mutual and ongoing efforts to get a deal done for the Howard Terminal project, we came up short. What's this we crap? Only in 2021, after 16 years of working exclusively on developing a home in the Bay Area and faced with a binding agreement with Major League Baseball to find a new home by 2024, did we begin to explore taking the team to Las Vegas. There are millions of dedicated and passionate A's fans in Oakland and around the world. Are we sure about that? And countless dedicated staff members and Oakland Coliseum employees who have poured their hearts into this team more than you have. And their efforts have meant so much to our community, really. And I know that there is great disappointment, even bitterness. Though I wish I could speak to each one of you individually, I can tell you this from the heart. We tried. Please, buddy. Staying in Oakland was our goal. It was our mission, and we failed to achieve it. And for that, I am genuinely sorry. But looking ahead, I hope you will join our beloved A's as we move forward on this amazing journey to a AAA stadium. And I hope I will see you again sporting the green and gold. And I hope we will make you proud. Signed, John Fisher.
Callan, there's 2 things that I'm thinking of. We tried. Yeah, I hate hearing that from someone in his position. Somebody saying we tried, but to actually put that out there, other owners have used different words than that, maybe higher educational words than we tried. But at the end there, where he mentioned we will make you proud of, try to build a winner, make us proud on our journey. It reminded me of what I found out about Donald Sterling here in San Diego, where he put his face on the bus and said, I will make you proud of this team. We'll build a winner. I just want to stay in San Diego. I don't want to go anywhere else. I'm getting Sterling vibes from Fisher off of this note, and Spanos as well, just with this letter. Yeah, just the we tried. I think that triggered me the most, just to say that. You don't even have to put that in. And then also, when I got back to work, I was just, standing there, and I was thinking for a second, man, all the accomplishments that they mentioned, like all the players that they had. I mean, not even the ones that they mentioned either. But you had, Eric Burns, who's so flamboyant.
Eric Chavez, Barry Zito, Scott Hatteberg, Rubio Durazo.
Yeah, all these great, A's that don't get mentioned, but they were part of our fabric of growing up watching them when they were on. And to see them now just downgrade the team and take whomever was good and trade him either to the Mets or the Braves and just keep rebuilding it, and you just don't see that going to Sacramento. And if you go cheap in Vegas, you're going to end up being one of those off of the strip shows that no one cares about. First, you're going to a fan base that's never had Major League Baseball. You're going to, AAA squad, yours, the 51s, but, it's not overpopulated. Nobody's going to those as much as you would think. And the fact that that new stadium might not have, weather controlled as well is just stupid. So and there's not a shovel yet put in. I know everybody, as I was watching those videos earlier today, everybody's like, yeah, I hope that something, gets done at the last second. But, a lot of them were saying, oh, I've coped with it. I'm fine with it. I'm ready to let him go. Others were emotional about it, of course. Um, and then the one thing you mentioned, the Hollywood movie and Moneyball actually came out on the 23rd in 2011. So it was a lunar anniversary of that. But the fact that the movie didn't mention, the three great pictures in it, not even one little video of Zito and Mulder and Hudson, the reason why, their wins are up because of those three. So that's all I always remember about Moneyball. It's like, hey, they're missing these great pictures. They're not even talking about them. They're just talking about the fact that they went cheap. And then I thought about this too. It happens to be the year and the season that Billy Beane passed away too. So if you're a real true Oakland fan, you have that, and you have the team leaving the same year. So, and then the team not, making the playoffs, of course, again. Going to Sacramento and not sticking around in Oakland like the Raiders did for as long as they did, knowing that they would be leaving Vegas. But yeah, I'm going to be definitely watching a couple of those games, especially the last game, just to see how many distractions there are and how many times the camera cannot show it, because MLB doesn't want to show fans running on the field. But X should be lively, and you'll hear all the drums, I hope, and that whole right field fans out there with the vuvuzelas and all that. I'm gonna miss that, actually. I know a lot of people thought it was annoying, but anytime you heard it on the radio or you're watching the game, you knew exactly where the Angels or whomever were playing. It was in Oakland because of those fans. And I thought to myself, man, sounds like the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Sounds very festive. It sounds awesome. And I wish every ballpark had that. And I think I was talking with a friend on Friday as well about the A's and how he went to the Coliseum. He thought, he grew up going to Jack Murphy Stadium.
Same.
So he was used to a stadium, not only sharing, but not having the suites like, new ballparks have, or not having the luxury boxes or the box seats or whatever. It's all rounded or whatever. And he was okay with that because that's what he grew up with. And I heard people, I think the new fans hated the Coliseum, but the old fans were just fine with it.
Sure.
But eventually you needed a new ballpark. And I know it reminds me of the Chargers when they were here, where they said, yeah, we're trying, we're not getting the votes, we're not getting the support from the city. And yeah, you could blame the Oakland City Council, you could blame the, Fisher and the A's.
The mayor's office.
As well. And she was mentioning, I think last week, hey, if they want to come back and play 3 more years, we can go back to the negotiating table, but they would charge him up the rear. But I was waiting for this day to come, but I thought it would have came, 2 or 3 years ago.
Same.
So it's almost like that 2015 ending of the Chargers, and you thought, okay, they're leaving to LA. Yep. And then they stay another year, and you're like, why? And then you had a perfect ending kind of the year before, and now you do it late in the season where you're mentioning it. It just feels like this, but it's a reminder just how everybody has to, I guess, keep up with the Joneses, but they hurt the true fans in a way. But yeah, I'll definitely be watching on Thursday and Wednesday.
Yeah, James, the letter just brings up so much old trauma. I recall being asleep and listening to what was then Extra Sports 1360 when Judson Richards and former Charger great Nick Hardwick were on the air on the morning show when the email came in that the letter had been dropped and from Dean Spanos, and that was when obviously the whole city, went into shock and all that sort of thing happened. And again, James, I'm in such agreement though, because it's like you did not have to put the whole "we tried, boo hoo, poor me, guilt trip" BS in that letter, and that's and it's just, I think, James, like the final nail in the coffin for what was just a very tumultuous last couple of years for that Oakland fan base, and my heart breaks for those people, who have been lifelong baseball fans up there, who have seen the best of that franchise to now the absolute worst of that franchise, all because of incompetent ownership in 2005, with Wolf and with Fisher coming into the fray to buy the ball club. And they can try to say, well, we tried San Jose, we tried this, we tried that. You did the bare minimum, just like the Spanoses did the bare flipping minimum to keep the Chargers in San Diego. And I can't speak, James, for Al and Mark Davis. I think they at least gave it a try, but I think it was at least better effort than what John Fisher has conjured up here over these last several of years, though. And I think, James, more than anything else, though, and I hope people get this right, that you and I feel horrible for those players and for that coaching staff. Like anyone that's not associated with John Fisher, like the GM and the manager and the coaches and the players, I mean, I feel bad for those guys. I think J.J. Bleday had a pretty interesting quote to ESPN.com. I think Seth Brown, who's the longest tenured A of only 6 years, also had some thoughts. I think, James, I can recall, though, that Chris Bassett and Mark Canha, who were former A's, had brought mason jars and had taken dirt from the mound or from the plate or from home plate with them to have with them, as like, hey, I played here for 4 years of my career before I got traded by this damn ownership group, and I want to have a memento for my time in Oakland. But again, folks, John J. Fisher kind of lighting more fuel to the fire by putting out a very, I think, unnecessary and pretty much a phony baloney statement and letter to the Oakland A's fan base, who again will play their final 3 games ever as a ball club coming up this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at the Oakland Coliseum versus the divisional rival Texas Rangers. All right, James, week 3 of the NFL season in the books. James, what has been your biggest surprises for some 3-0 or 0-3 ball clubs after 3 games of a season?
Also, I was trying to remember that Oakland A who got sent down because he was wearing a wristband.
Esteury Ruiz.
Yeah, that's who it was. I was going to bring that up, but I forgot who it was. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers being 3-0, they've done it with their defense mostly, and Justin Fields has not turned the ball over. He's been really good with it, and he's made the deciding passes, ran for first downs. So I think that was probably a very shocking 3-0 because we didn't know Russell Wilson. We didn't know if he was going to be any good. But luckily he's been injured, so we never know. What else? No, I want to say them. Maybe Seattle, just because they usually don't start off well, but they're 3-0, so that's really good for them. Let's see. What I was going to say, Kansas City, they've gotten a few calls to go their way to be 3-0.
What else is new?
I hate that crap.
I don't care. I think it's funny.
We don't need them to keep winning. But you mentioned 0-3, right? And
yes.
Tonight, I didn't get to watch any of the games, but damn. Cincinnati looks really bad.
Woo!
They had a chance, I know, to come back, but they failed at the end. I know Jamar Chase had a couple touchdowns, but they couldn't stop Jalen Daniels. This was his coming out party on Monday Night Football, and he did pretty well. He had 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing. I think almost a total of 300 yards in total. That was fun to see, and you were hoping that. I think Washington being 2-1 is a surprise as well, I would say. But Jacksonville, they needed to come out swinging and win, and they haven't. They're 0-3. They got blown out tonight, 47-10. Buffalo's 3-0, I believe, so they're good. We wondered how Buffalo would come out, and especially Josh Allen, because he doesn't have Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis anymore in that receiving room. But guess what? Allen's doing what he can with what he has. He threw 4 touchdown passes tonight. So he's just fine. On the other side, though, the Jags. Trevor Lawrence isn't any good anymore. Mac Jones actually came in late in the game and had a turnover for a touchdown on
Buffalo beating by
fumble.
37. Give me a break, man.
Yeah, it's just not going well for Jacksonville. And I mentioned these two games tonight because the seats are on fire for Doug Peterson for the Jags and Zach Taylor for the Bengals. I mean, both could be fired mid-season to me. And I was just thinking too, because of the Jags and the year they had again, you have to come out better. And same thing for the Bengals. I know they've had some contract off-season drama and all that, but everybody's in the building. Everybody should be ready to go, and they're not right now. And both are easily, in danger of falling out of the postseason run.
And James, if I can, real quick, to piggyback off your thoughts about contract issues and stuff, Trevor Lawrence may be crumbling underneath the pressure of that massive extension over the offseason after these first 3 games in your mind?
Yeah, I think it started from last year too. The thing I always remember about him and the way he loses the games is that he'll throw some bad interceptions, but he has the most fumbles out of everyone for a quarterback. I think the last 3 or 4 years. Whenever he gets rushed out of the pocket, he doesn't take care of the football. That's always been an issue for him, and I think it's continued for him. He's been given all the talent in the world. You have Evan Ingram. I know he was out tonight, but he started off the season well. But you have all these receivers that you paid highly for. You have a great running back in ETN Jr. So you should be able to be great with what you have. The defense is doing the job for you. But he's the one crumbling under the pressure, like you mentioned, with that new deal. And the thing is, I don't know if it's a thing for me, but it's in all sports now, especially NBA too, where players are getting paid right away and they're even holding out, or the organizations aren't waiting until they're free agents. They aren't waiting until their contract is out. They're paying them right away. It's like Tua. They get paid right away, and now he's out for a good chunk of the season. Same thing with Trevor Lawrence, though. It's just very, very.
And I would throw Joe Burrow in that conversation too, sadly.
Now the talk is about him being 0-3 and having all those weapons, but
and just underperforming.
That's all it is, I think. I think it's a surprise having the Steelers 3-0 leading that division. The same with Washington leading their division at 2-1. I don't know if you want me to go through the week, but it was just one of these weeks where you really didn't know what the hell was going on Sunday. It was just wild to me.
Yeah, James, I'll throw one more surprise in there. The Minnesota Vikings with journeyman Sam Darnold over J.J. McCarthy, and the Vikes are 3-0. Wow.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, and I think I mentioned this with Jim Rome before the season. Once J.J. McCarthy was out for the season, Sam Darnold was thrown in there. And I saw him, I think, in the first preseason game against the Raiders, and I thought, you know what? If he gets a starting job over McCarthy, he's never had this much talent around him ever.
That is a fair point.
It doesn't have to be the running backs, but I know Addison was out, but look at him. You have Justin Jefferson, maybe the best receiver in the game. When Darnold was with the 49ers last year, he was a backup. He started. But before that, he was in Carolina when they were trying to get rid of everybody. And, Tepper is getting rid of, 6-7 coaches. He was in the middle of that. He was with the Jets when they started to be a mess. And, they tried putting players with him like Le'Veon Bell, who was made a mistake on his holding out with Pittsburgh. He ended up on the Jets and not doing well. That just hindered Darnold's performance. And then the failed draft picks the Jets have had. So finally, Darnold's in a position where he's doing so well, where all he has to do is just air out the ball. And it's just been great to see him thrive. I know USC quarterbacks get the rap of not having great NFL careers, maybe other from Carson Palmer, but I'm just happy for Sam Darnold. Maybe JJ was going to get the starting job just based on what he did in the preseason, but yeah, Darnold is reaping the benefits of that, the next man up mentality. And it's literally a thing where I know it's early, but it's like, hey, all you have to do is just make the throws. You don't have to think about anything else. You have the talent. And let me mention this too.
Yes.
They won 34-7 yesterday. Their defense has been so surprising. I mean, they did make a lot of free agent signings in the offseason. Kind of reminded me of the Packers, what they did a couple of years ago, where they just brought on a lot of defense. They were good offensively, but they needed to shore up the defense. And Minnesota, all of them have been just great on defense, and that really helped out yesterday. I really didn't even know who to pick yesterday between them, but luckily I picked Minnesota with that game.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's my biggest surprise for, J.J. McCarthy going down with the injury, Sam Darnold, journeyman quarterback, maybe getting his confidence back after the third week of the season. But James, before we move on, man, I wanted to get your thoughts, though. Again, the Raiders, as we know, man, sadly had a very ugly loss to Carolina at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday. But James, now all of a sudden, my man, a 1-2 Raiders ball club getting called out for the second time in 3 weeks by head coach Antonio Pierce. And, James, there's a lot of riffraff going on here with that locker room after the first game against the Chargers. Then, it's like, it's a roller coaster so far, down, up, down so far. But, James, your overall thoughts so far about Antonio Pierce really kind of being out here and publicly hurling his team under the bus after 3 games of the season?
I don't mind his words. I just hope the actions are behind it, When he took over week 9 of last year and he was mentioning all the things that he was going to change his team around, there's going to be no giving up on plays and on games. Well, damn it, that happened on Sunday. Ugh. I thought we were done with this crap. I was so pissed off. Like after, when it was 21-7 at the half, I'm like, this game is over. This game is over. I don't care if the Raiders tried to come back. And they lost, by 14, 36-22. The fact that it was the home opener, it was the 65th anniversary, and you had a bunch of the legends there. You got to come up big for that. But I kind of saw it happening. I mentioned, I think, to so many people, and I think it was Tim that said, hey, don't worry about it. They're going to beat the Panthers. No problem. And I told him, I said, hey, the Raider defense, they struggle no matter who the hell the coach is, no matter the personnel. They struggle with the replacement quarterbacks from the week before for the opponent, right? So they bench Bryce Young. They go to the other redhead who's doing well this week. Not Sam
Andy
Darnold,
Dalton.
but Andy Dalton. Those redheads look alike. Andy, 3 touchdowns. It was right away in the first half. 319 yards passing, just ridiculous. I still think the Raiders are the dumbest team in America, just like Bill Callahan said.
Okay, Bill Callahan, I see you.
I still think so, because did you just game plan for Bryce Young thinking that he was going to be there even though they said he was not going to start? You didn't game plan. I know you haven't seen him, but there was footage in the preseason from Andy Dalton. You know his game. He's going to go deep. He's going to stay in the pocket. He's rarely going to roll out. All I have to do is get him, get the pressure up front, and they didn't do any of that. That defense was awful for the Raiders. Their meal ticket of the season was going to be defense. And right away, they gave up the 21 points in the first half. And the rushing defense didn't do well as well. They let Hubbard have 114 yards rushing, and Miles Sanders had a touchdown. And then offensively, the Raiders didn't do much. There was garbage points at the end, whatever. Adams had only 4 receptions for 40 yards, but no touchdowns his way. It was, there were no turnovers at all. There was, nothing like that, or no fumbles at least. But Gardner Minshew threw a pick, and he was even benched later on for Aiden O'Connell, and he was sacked a couple of times as well. And it's like, dude, right away. And I know he had a bad start to that Raven game, and Max Crosby had to say, "Hey, we'll take care of you. Just do better." Basically, he had that pep talk, and that I guess helped Minshew. But do you have to do that every game for Gardner? There's already people calling for his head to put the second year Aiden O'Connell in. I don't think they'll do that just yet, but maybe after week 5 or 6, you might see Aiden O'Connell start for the Raiders. It gets worse if you like fertility. The Browns, the 0-3 Browns, come to Las Vegas next week to face the 1-2 Raiders. That's another team that people quickly went from the Raiders to the Browns this morning on the fertility list.
Oh, man.
The Browns looked bad yesterday, too. They got blitzed a lot. The Giants came in and held on to beat them. And
the Giants of all teams, the Giants.
They got their first win. Their neighbors went crazy on them. He had this amazing
talk about having a day.
Corner catch. I think he had a couple touchdowns as well. But I might find something else to do for that game on Sunday. I don't think I want to watch that. And if they lose, and you know what? I made a bet with someone, but luckily I didn't hold it.
Oh, no.
I said if the Panthers beat the Raiders, but this was before Bryce Young was benched. It was that Sunday against that one team. I said if the Raiders lose to the Panthers on Sunday, I won't watch the rest of the Raiders season. And they lost to the Panthers on Sunday.
So Cleveland on Sunday.
I might join you and not watch the NFL. I'm not sure.
Beautiful. There's plenty of room on the anti-NFL football fan couch. Believe me. I want to get to a couple of thoughts real quick, James, from my good man and the Elite Draft League commissioner. My good man Josh Fontaine writes in, "Hey, Mike Tomlin handling that quarterback situation the way that he has been huge. Justin Fields finding himself in Pittsburgh over Russell Wilson. James, what do you think about Tomlin and Tomlin picking the right guy?"
Let's keep Russell Wilson dressed in his full football gear, but not play him. Let's keep that going. No, Justin Fields, I think a lot of the times you need a new scenery whenever you fail or you get, you have failure around you. You just need new scenery. And he's found out with Pittsburgh where it makes a difference of organizations. That's a reminder. Malik Willis, and I mentioned this on Sunday morning tailgate on Sunday. I love revenge games. And Malik Willis started against his former team who drafted him, the Tennessee Titans. And, of course, now he plays on the Packers, and he did very well rushing. And I don't know if he threw for a touchdown, but they were able to destroy the Titans 30-14. Of course, he's in there for Jordan Love. And I knew Jordan Love was not going to play. But it's one of those things for Malik Willis to have the confidence. I love seeing that, whether he's passing or running. Yeah, he had a passing, I think, touchdown, or rushing touchdown, I should say. No, he threw for one and ran for one. So he had a great day. It's almost the same thing with Justin Fields, where it's like, hey, you don't have to do as much as you used to. Just run our game plan. And Arthur Smith, by the way, the former Falcon head coach, got revenge week 1 in Atlanta with Justin Fields. So both of them are kind of on a revenge tour right now. It's pretty cool to see if you're a Steeler fan. And then you have a defense that are going to win you games where you don't have to do as much. So it's a great thing for Justin Fields. I love that.
Further, James, Josh also writes, "Can you imagine if Brandon Staley or Robert Saleh was in Pittsburgh trying to dance around the egos in the quarterback room?" I don't know, James, how that would have worked, but credit to Mike Tomlin for making it work with the veteran and Russell Wilson being hurt, and then the flashy new toy in Justin Fields, who, again, James, may I remind you, was taking punts and kick returns at one point in the preseason.
Yeah, it's I still can't believe I forgot all about that. They just didn't know what they were gonna have, and you knew Russell Wilson was his eagle was gonna come out of his uniform, and I do remember this too about the Week 1 win in the locker room where they reportedly gave Russell Wilson a pity game ball. Like
Oh,
he was
yes.
moping in the locker room or something, and I think one of the Steelers gave him a game ball because he was maybe too because Sierra's ex loves Atlanta, so future. So maybe that has something to do with it
The
too.
Pittsburgh Petty Revenge Tour. I love it.
But yeah,
James, I got one more thought here from Josh real quick before we move on here to our next topic. Josh also says, Darnold will be getting signed to an extension. I would put money on it.
yeah, it's almost like Baker Mayfield. How
They basically
other
took
from this week.
they basically took a flyer on Sam Darnold, and holy cow, he's got the Vikings 3-0.
I think it's buyer beware, but you have to do it because you don't know how JJ McCarthy's going to be after his injury. I know he's the future, but hey, we have someone right now who you just signed with, Justin Jefferson. If you don't throw to him, he's going to want out. I don't care how much money he makes. He'll find his way out of. He'll unfollow your team and he'll want to trade out. So yeah, it's going to be like a Baker Mayfield thing where they do a trial run on him, and then eventually either they'll sign him or they'll make that mistake to let him go and put the kid in. We'll see what happens. Also, one more thing.
Yes.
Now, I'm trying to find something in someone. Callan, do you know where Brandon Ayuk is?
Brandon Ayuk. Let me see.
Shit. I
may have a couple of number 11 jerseys in my closet, but they're all hockey jerseys. That might be a problem, I think.
I was just thinking to myself, because the Rams had that upset win. I know it was a preseason filled game with all the starters out. But remember all the shows we did with talking about his hold in and if he was going to get traded to the Steelers and all that crap. And he was a non-factor in that loss in LA against the Rams.
Yeah, how poetic, right?
You remember that was without McCaffrey, without Deebo Samuel, without George Kittle. Okay, you're the main guy. He's you're the reason why we paid all that money for you, and you weren't here, practicing in camp. I don't know, dude. We got to find him again. We talked about him for all the off season, and oh well.
Is there Amber Alerts for missing adults as well, or is it just for kids? Or do we have to go back to milk cartons and write, "Have you seen me, Brandon Ayuk," with the San Francisco 49ers logo?
When I was thinking of that earlier to do this, I was like, should I say milk carton? Or I don't think anybody would get that reference.
I mean, milk cartons, billboards, flyers, and staple them to the telephone poles. I don't know, social media ad campaigns. I couldn't tell you, sadly.
Yeah, that was just the shocker, I think, of the day, just because of what the Rams were missing. Both of their receivers. I guess both of them did, right? But for all that money and all that talk Ayuk made and had of the offseason, he's a non-factor. They lose at the glorified home game, Levi South. It was just a wild week. The Saints didn't score as much, and they lost. That was kind of a shocker, too. Miami's going to struggle without Tua. Like I mentioned with Baker Mayfield, he didn't show up. The Bucs didn't. Caleb Williams got beat really bad again. They can't protect him. They can't keep him upright. Dallas. Oh, forgot about Dallas. They're 1-2.
How about them Cowboys?
It is just turmoil, and it's only week 3. I mean, everybody's arguing with everybody.
And not just that, James, the way they've been getting crushed at home. Like, I think they had what? Again, I don't watch a lot of American football, James. They had at least a 17, 18, 20-game win streak at home, and now all of a sudden they can't deliver at home. And not just that, the opposition has just been pancaking them at AT&T Stadium.
It was one of these things where you're worried about your fan base being taken over. And we saw that maybe with Houston coming in or San Francisco, and you're seeing more red.
New England.
When Pittsburgh came, you saw the black and yellow.
Philadelphia.
But There's a sign of the crowd not showing up. There was a sign in Oxnard. I know it was a Monday or Tuesday afternoon, whatever it was. It was hot as hell, even though by the coast it's nice. There was hardly anybody in the bleachers to watch training camp of the Cowboys. That should have been a
That
sign.
usually never happens.
Yeah, that should have been the sign where, like, hey, we're fed up with Jerry Jones being the Fidel Castro of the NFL of the Cowboys. We're fed up of, is Dak coming back? Are you paying him? Are you paying Lamb? Parsons is pissed because he's not getting paid. So there was all this off-season issues, and they're the most covered team, of all time, of course. Uh, it just feels like Jerry's losing fans little by little. I'm hearing more hire GM or sell the team. All of this crap. I'm hearing it. And I'm like, eventually, you knew this was going to happen after all the playoff losses they've had in a row.
You would
You know,
think they would learn from
yeah,
their
not
past mistakes.
not winning the Super Bowl for 30 plus years is like, okay, or not winning a playoff game in so many years. It's like, okay, something has to change eventually, but it's just that one guy controlling everything, and you can't really do anything about it. The fact that also Derrick Henry ran all over them,
When they
and
could
Jerry
have signed him as
Jones
a free agent is even more hysterical.
and Jerry Jones said, yeah, he was too much to pay for after the game, and I'm
Oh,
thinking,
please, Jerry. You got money coming out of your you-know-what. Give me a break.
you paid Lamb this much, you paid Dak this much. You couldn't do it for Henry this year and really solidify your running game. But you bring back old friend of Dak's, Ezekiel Elliott, and he looks cooked.
Yeah, agree. And again, week 3 in the books officially in the NFL start here on this Monday night. All right, James, can we cue up the merry-go-round music or the Benny Hill theme song for a absolutely chaotic day in college athletics? And this all began, folks, early this morning on Monday, courtesy of Bleacher Report and Timothy Rapp, and also from a report that went out from Brett McMurphy earlier on Monday morning, which really caught everybody by surprise, James. And that was the first report that the Gonzaga Bulldogs of the West Coast Conference, per the report from Brett McMurphy, had signed, sealed, delivered, and signed their life away to join the Pac-12 Conference, the reborn, rebuilt Pac-12 Conference as of Monday. But that report was quickly wiped off the board by multiple writers, including Nicole Auerbach of NBC Sports, Kyle Bonagura of ESPN, and John Rothstein, who all in a way kind of shut down this report from Brett McMurphy. Nicole first put on Twitter, the report stating that Gonzaga is heading to the Pac-12 is not accurate. Sources close to the discussions tells NBC Sports both sides have had / are having serious conversations, but nothing has been agreed upon by the parties at this point. Kyle Bonagura says on ESPN that the Pac-12 has had discussions with Gonzaga about joining the Pac-12 conference, and while it could lead to an agreement, nothing has yet been agreed to per a source. While John Rothstein confirms sources contrary to belief and reports, Gonzaga currently has no deal in place to leave the WCC for the Pac-12. Now, again, Brett McMurphy of Action Network had reported earlier in the day that the deal was complete and that the Bulldogs would receive a full conference revenue share despite not having a football program. Gonzaga's athletic director, though, Chris Standiford, denied a deal was done per Jim Meehan of a Spokesman Review. Jim Meehan wrote on Twitter, open and close quote, "That is not accurate reporting." He said on Brett McMurphy's report on Twitter that Gonzaga, or GU, was leaving the West Coast Conference for the Pac-12. This, James, then spirals into another domino falling with the 4 potential targets from the American Athletic Conference. As I said clear as day on Press Row on Thursday, the Memphis Tigers, the South Florida Bulls, who were the 4th team involved in this mix, the UTSA Roadrunners, and the Tulane Green Wave all put a joint statement out at 11:47 a.m. Pacific time declaring, "We are American Athletic Conference members. We have no intentions to leave this conference for the Pac-12. It did come out, though, from Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports that they cited travel costs. They cited the travel from the Midwest to go play in small towns in Oregon and in Washington, Fresno, California, and also even playing in Tulane or even playing in San Antonio, Texas. Even further down the road, ESPN then also broke news, James. The Utah State Utes, the lone holdover from the Mountain West, will now join the Pac-12 Conference as the 7th football member. Still one football member is needed. Now, though, James, the latest story that broke around 4 o'clock this afternoon, UNLV is now re-engaging in conversations with the Pac-12 Conference after its commitment to the Mountain West earlier in the day was not formalized by the front office, per Pete Thamel and Kyle Bonagura of ESPN.com. Per the report, I'll read it kind of quickly here. UNLV agreed to a amending of the understanding to return to the Mountain West Conference, but that was predicted on all 8 remaining schools agreeing to stay put in the conference. But when Utah State jumped ship to not come or stay in the Mountain West Conference, sources said that UNLV officials agreed to pause and further explore their options. UNLV was set to take the deal from the Mountain West Conference that would have paid them and Air Force a significant lump payment to stay in the conference and become one of the new linchpins with the departures of San Diego State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and Boise State. The move by UNLV to now explore their options now leaves the Mountain West in flux, as Air Force's commitment earlier in the day and UNLV's initial commitment on Monday were viewed as positive signs that the league could leverage its buyout money from the departing schools to stay together. Part of that Mountain West pitch is that the league would ensure no schools take a step back in media distribution money, which is all guaranteed, compared with the projected revenue from the Pac-12 Conference has presented to the member universities. Now, if this, in fact, James, stays true, you're looking at a Mountain West Conference losing San Diego's weather, Boise State's great raucous atmosphere, the elevation of Colorado Springs, and a very good football program in scorching hot Fresno, California. You now, James, are losing Utah State as your 5th school. You now, James, might be looking at a Mountain West Conference featuring Air Force, the football member-only Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, New Mexico, Nevada, Reno, San Jose State, and Wyoming, and you now have 4 years to get 2 new programs to join the Mountain West to keep the conference alive for football. I think, James, today may have been the most bonkers day in realignment. The fake reports or the reports by Brett McMurphy that clearly has no leverage because the Bulldogs have come out and told local TV in Spokane, and then the AD body slamming the report, we're not going anywhere. We are in the WCC for the foreseeable future. We had that. We had a disgraced former co-host of ours try to troll me because I work in the WCC about Zaga leaving. I said, that's cool and all. Guess what? Grand Canyon, Seattle University, full-time members in the WCC in 2025, 2026. Then again, like I said, though, James, 4 different writers came out and said, there's been talks, but there's nothing official. Don't count on Zaga going to the Pac-12 as of yet. Then the AAC, James, comes out and says, our name's been in the news for the wrong reasons. These 4 schools aren't going anywhere. As I said on my show, James, on Thursday night, those schools would not move the needle for me for a Pac-12 conference. It just would not make any sense. Don't give me this crap about, central time zones and stuff. I'm not ready for a San Diego, San Antonio rivalry at the college level. It just would not make any logical sense. What I think, James, happens now, the Pac-12 just buys out the Mountain West and it just becomes the Pac-12 2.0 basically, and they just absorb into one. I think it's just what's going to happen eventually at some point in time. And then the report still about Utah State now jumping ship is kind of interesting for the Pac-12 conference. Now UNLV, I think, James, becomes the next domino that does fall over to join the Pac-12, where I think once that happens, James, I really do believe this will be a full-fledged reverse merger. The Pac-12 just comes in, buys everybody out from the Mountain West, and they just form the new Pac-12 conference. But, James, your thoughts on a loony day in college realignment on this Monday between Zaga and the Pac-12 not happening, them staying put in the WCC. The AAC says, we are the Americans. Screw the Pac-12 and Mountain West Conference. Then the Mountain West has their own problems tonight with Utah State bolting ship, and now might be losing that Las Vegas media market in the foreseeable future.
Whew, all this happened. I was at work and didn't even know about it. When I started to read about it, when you had the topics out, I was shocked. Is Bob Nightingale the one who reported on Gonzaga going to Pac-12?
Seems like it, or is it Ken Rosenthal saying that Trey Turner, Max Scherzer are San Diego Padres in 2021?
Arson Judge is going to the
Arson Judge going to the Giants from John Heyman. Sadly, Brett McMurphy dropped the ball, James, in a pretty big way today, where, again, if you're having the school come out and tell local TV, we're not going anywhere, then the AD kind of in a way just body slams your reporting. It's not very good.
Where'd you hear that? Who said that? Tell me who said that, please. I need to know if it was one of us, because they need to get fired. Another thing, too, you mentioned UNLV. I always thought if the Pac-12, the pre-Pac-12, the old Pac-12.
The glory days of the Pac-12.
I thought one day they were going to have San Diego State, Boise State, UNLV,
Fresno, UNM.
And there's probably another one out there. But it would have to be like the best of the Mountain West go to probably Utah State.
Would you have said BYU if they were still in the Mountain West
back
in the day?
Yeah, it would have been BYU as well. So I would have said those four go to the Pac-12. But I think everybody is reminding themselves that old Pac-12 is gone. This will not be the same Pac-12 that you
literally
had.
James, my point I said on Thursday on Press Row.
This
is not the Pac-12 you grew up with, I grew up with, my parents grew up with, or my uncle who's an ASU alum from the Pac-8 days. This ain't the same thing.
It's definitely not. I kind of wish they would go Pac Mountain West or something like that. But Pac-12 allegedly has that big name from the past, so you have to be here. But again, losing the Arizona schools, the Bay Area schools, the LA schools, and one each from Oregon and the mountain schools, you're definitely not the same. I'm not throwing shade on the Mountain West or whatever, but it's not. It never was on the same level as the Pac-12. Maybe in basketball,
it was always the shadow of the Pac-12.
Maybe in basketball they could compete. You know, the San Diego State with UCLA and USC. But
not every sport.
Football.
Like basketball for sure.
Yeah.
Baseball maybe would hang with the Pac-12, but not football whatsoever.
No, and that's what I go back to when I hear about this. And I think it's a sign, too, when you had the four schools from the AAC saying, yeah, we're not going anywhere. And right away they knew maybe if the Pac-12 had all those schools still, maybe they would give it a listen, but I don't think they even gave it a listen. I still think
they would if it was the old Pac-12, because really, would a upstart UTSA football program in 2011 want to get killed by USC and UCLA every season? I highly doubt it.
That's true, too. And then the fact about Gonzaga, we only know them basically for basketball.
That's their moneymaker.
And the thing is, when they got the tip about what is this? They would get a full conference revenue share despite not participating in football. No one would ever agree to that with the rest of the conference.
No way, no how.
Right away, that should have been a red flag. Like, wait, where did this come from? This is not how things work here. So yeah, that was a very very shocking day. Horrible for Brett McMurphy. His trustworthy whatever is gone, basically. And again, and I had a thought Utah State was going to be going to the Pac-12. They're just they need another one now. UNLV or what was the other
UNM.
one? Yeah, New Mexico was the other one. I know St. Mary's.
Quick, like I said on Thursday, I think that both the football program and men's basketball team, those are the two driving engines of college athletics. Those have to be good. I went through and looked through the UTSA football schedules. They've been good. Again, they're a fairly new program from 2011 is when was their first season. 9 wins, 10 wins, 8 wins, 7 wins, going to bowl games. But then though, James, that men's basketball slate, 11-21, 10-30, 10-22. That's not going to get you anywhere in the Pac-12 if they made that jump.
Yeah, but I think when it comes down to it, again, this is not the same Pac-12,
Precisely.
and I just wish they would call it something else. But they want that Pac name because it's legendary. But again, it's not the same, and and it goes back to what I said years ago when Texas and Oklahoma was announcing that they were going to the SEC. I'm so sick of the musical chairs crap. I thought we were done with this. And now it's out here. Worse. It's out here. It's worse. And you're having false pretenses on the Pac-12 because it's the brand name, but it's like everything in America now. The product is shrinking inside the box. It's not what you normally get. Cracker Jacks used to have a toy in it, and now that tattoo or that paper or whatever. That's what it reminds me of the Pac-12. It's Cracker Jack, basically. It gets stale pretty quickly once you lose the foundation.
Yeah, James, I mainly think that it's the Gonzaga to the Pac-12 thing that's just like this would never happen. And we can claim about it. Gonzaga men's basketball is that university's driver. Again, that's why the West Coast Conference, James, exists like the Big West. All those two conferences have no standing ground in football, minus USD, but we play 1AA in the same level as Sacramento State. And I know that there's some talk about them maybe wanting to join the Mountain West. But again, that's, like I said, James, on Thursday, that is a massive leap from that level up to the FBS level, because then you'd have to raise scholarships. You'd have to stay in line with Title IX compliance. Again, there's just a lot of hurdles there that I don't think that you would want to do if you've already been a successful program at that level. And I don't, James, see, though, and again, like I mainly said on Thursday, I don't want another BYU independent football program and all their athletic teams are playing in the West Coast Conference. I just don't want to see like that separation happen again, where it's now I can understand it from like SDSU's perspective with men's soccer before the Pac-12 imploded. Men's soccer was not a sponsored sport of the conference, so SDSU had a program in the original Pac-10, Pac-12. I don't want to see cast-offs again, like I said on Thursday, and especially I think, James, if Gonzaga did do that, what does that say to the rest of your teams? You're not good enough to go to the Pac-12 conference? Like that is a major, slap across the face to, for me, as an example, as a baseball player. Oh, so men's basketball can go to the Pac-12, but my team isn't good enough to do that? Like, what am I doing here, basically?
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Now, I can understand the move for Gonzaga, only if they were not getting the top seed bids every March. But this move could have been done before Mark Few, you would think. But maybe. They've built such a big program. Every year they're a top seed in the March Madness. So their name brand, they could go anywhere.
Them and St. Mary's are both brand names, and I would even throw San Francisco in there. But I also, James, I told this to my dad, though, today. My dad agreed with me, though. Why would Gonzaga make that move when they get to rule the ESPN television schedule, not just for them, James, but for St. Mary's and San Francisco and all the other teams who chase them every year for the conference title, like San Diego, Pepperdine, LMU, Santa Clara, UOP. And like I said, though, James, too, as much as people want to troll me about, Zaga's leaving your conference. Oh, my goodness, sucks to suck, doesn't it, Callan? We have 2 new members joining full-time next school year, and they're both great basketball programs, James, Grand Canyon and Seattle University. So, look, we're already thinking ahead in case anyone bolt ship. Unlike these other conferences, James, who are right now flipping scrambled eggs on the oven at 12:05 in the morning on a Tuesday.
I'm hungry now. Yeah, I'm gonna love that basketball conference with the additions of Grand Canyon and Seattle. Both have Seattle has a history with Elgin Baylor, and then Grand Canyon with what Dan Marley started being the coach there.
And they travel very well, and honestly, they might have one of the best home courts in all of mid-major basketball.
There's no doubt about that. I've watched a lot of their games since they've gotten really good, and that's a basketball conference. Don't let anybody.
That's literally all the
that.
WCC is. So again, why would you want the biggest draw of a basketball-only conference to go to the Pac-12? Now, I know, James, I spoiled Lee Hacksaw Hamilton's Monday podcast, as I actually wrote in, please explain to me, Mr. Hacksaw, how the hell you think that Gonzaga going to the Pac-12 is the best thing ever. And I mean, I kind of got what he was saying, though. Gonzaga brand name, Pac-12 brand name conference. But again, what does that do for the rest of the athletic department? Is this going to be Pac-12 men's back? Like I said earlier, that's why I think, James, Zaga is not going anywhere, regardless of what anyone out there wants to say.
I know it's not the Big East, but don't make the mistake of losing.
Don't do what UConn did when they jumped to the American Athletic Conference in both men's and women's basketball.
Don't make that same mistake. Just stay where you're known.
And I feel like, James, they won't make that mistake because I think they would have learned by now about what happened to that conference until again, UConn women playing Houston and Tulane. Holy crap, give me a break.
I thought that when that happened some years ago, I was like, wait, what the hell is UConn? Don't mess that up. That would be my thing to Gonzaga. But the way that today went with that reporter and with Gonzaga coming out, yeah, they can't go anywhere for a couple of years because of this. Because it shows your loyalness to the WCC. So, yeah, crazy day from what you said and what I've read.
Also, James, with that in mind, another developing story in college athletics involving NIL. Your boy Reggie Bush, San Diego legend, now is filing a lawsuit as of Monday morning to now, James, sue his alma mater, sue the Pac-12 as we knew it back then, the Pac-10 for that matter, and now he is also suing the NCAA for back pay for NIL because of how that USC brand really grew and blew out of proportion during his time there. But again, James, I sent this to a couple of group chats today. Sadly, I don't see this lawsuit going anywhere or getting off the ground because that was a different set of rules back in the day, and he can't go back and fix those mistakes. Now getting the Heisman back is one thing. Getting the number retired on the sun deck at the Coliseum is one thing. But going back and getting back pay and suing, I think this is going to be stopped at the goal line on fourth down over and over and over and over again, sadly.
I'm happy I didn't have to try to find the right words because that's what I mentioned. Is a different set of rules back then. It wasn't only until I almost said Ed O'Bannon won his case against the NCAA that anyone broke in, and won something for the NIL. He won that case, but that was totally another thing. But yeah, Bush won't get anything from this. It kind of reminds me of how Caleb Williams and his crew tried to I want to own the part of the Bears. I want to own the part of the team. I want to get a veteran contract on a rookie contract. It always reminds me of this. Now, I know Reggie Bush, he was just the man in 2004 and 5. I mean, he had that 619 tape on his face. He was running around and through people. The parents got the home in Spring Valley. He should just be happy with him being back in, as I don't think he's on Fox anymore. I can't remember, but I haven't seen him this year.
Did a great job, though.
Yeah, he was great with him and Leinart and Brady Quinn and all that. Should just be happy with what you're deserved to get back. Because I think NCAA will mention, hey, in this case, they'll defend and say, hey, remember, you cheated the rules. Remember, you got things that you weren't supposed to anyway. So you have already benefited. and it was against the rules back then. As you mentioned, it was a different set of rules. What I thought exactly when I read this around 8:30 last night, where I was just like, hey, you're not gonna get far. You're seeing all these young kids that might not make it pro get something, and you want something just because you're a legend. I don't think it works that way. It's not going to work that way. You might have the public opinion, but you won't have the court's ruling.
Yeah, James, I agree. It was one thing that Reggie had a 10-year ban that he could not go to any SC football games or even step foot on the campus of
Yeah.
USC for 10 years. And I think that he was able to finagle that ruling when he was working for Fox. But now that that's gone, now he's got his number retired again on the sun deck at the LA Coliseum. The Heisman's back. But again, though, James, the main things, though, that title's still vacated. Those wins are still not in the record book from that season where all this happened. And I think, though, James, like we said, though, man, it was a different set of rules, though. And, Reggie can try and sue and get back pay, but I don't see this going anywhere whatsoever. But that will be a very interesting storyline to follow, though, as the rest of the week does prolong, with Reggie Bush now suing his alma mater, the Pac-12, and the NC2A for right now NIL back pay from his 2005 Heisman Trophy winning season, claiming millions of dollars could be going his way for keeping USC's brand alive after he left the university in 2005 in Los Angeles, California. With that, James, let's now, my man, go off the board now on a early Tuesday here on C2C at Night. James, one topic you'd like to discuss that was not brought up on the night show. What do you got, my man?
Can you go first?
Sure, I can go first. With that in mind, James, the WNBA playoffs are in full swing as of Sunday, and I've had this slogan, James, in my head, or like this saying, I should say, in my head, I think since the regular season ended, and it's a phrase called "If this is the last time." The Phoenix Mercury, James, have been teasing that Diana Taurasi, the longtime 20-year-plus veteran of the franchise, USA superstar at the Olympics, is probably going to be retiring once the season comes to a conclusion. They had a very well-orchestrated farewell, kind of like farewell party for Diana following their final home game of the regular season that drew a sellout crowd at Footprint Center. Her 2014 teammates came back. Her wife, Penny Taylor, came. Gino Auriemma, her college coach, also came out. Mom and dad showed up, and a couple of friends of mine were at that game in Phoenix to kind of, in a way, bid Diana their farewell last week in Phoenix. And certainly, James, it was weird to me because I began seeing ads from the team like a week in advance of the final regular season home game. And it was a lot of it was led, though, by that statement, "If this is the last time, ... It turns out it was a letter written by the Mercury franchise, and in every sentence started with the phrase, "If this is the last time." They sold special jerseys at the team store that had a goat's head inside the number 3. Again, they've all called Diana the GOAT for her whole career in Phoenix. All of her teammates wore Mercury or UConn jerseys for pregame warm-ups that basically documented Diana's career from UConn to her 20-plus years in Phoenix. And, James, I think of two players when I think about my fandom for women's basketball: Diana and Candace Parker. I grew up in a time, James, like yourself, though, when it was the UConn women iron fist ruling college basketball, with Diana and Sue going as far back as Rebecca Lobo, Nikisha Sales, and then Birdie and Diana came in the mid 2000s. And I always, James, tell the story that whenever UConn won the title, my uncle and aunt who lived in Connecticut always called the house, "What size shirt do you want when the season ends?" Because they knew they were going to win the national title. So my uncle would go and brave the lines to get the merch, and sure enough, we'd get the box, national champion shirts. I think I've got like 4 or 5 in my collection that I still wear every so often. But also not just that, though, James. It was the fact that Diana Taurasi was a SoCal kid from Chino, California. Everyone around her knew her. She would play here in San Diego every so often and things like that. And how she never really, she always would make sure to include Chino. She would shout out SoCal in some capacity. So, James, one of my favorite, I got two good Taurasi stories here while you think of your topic. I went to an LA Sparks game on my 20th birthday. This was also, James, after months of deliberations about whether the LA franchise was going to move out of town or not because of the ownership change or ownership group leaving, and then Magic and the Dodgers basically bought the Sparks. So on my 20th birthday, LA played Phoenix at Staples. So I got to see Candace Parker play Diana in person. Like, holy cow, this is like best thing ever. I get to see two of my favorite basketball players, men's or women's, regardless, play in person. So after the game was over, a bunch of friends of mine who had season tickets were able to land me a post-game autograph voucher that you go and you get this, get to go down to the court and have a couple players sign some stuff for you and take some pictures. So the Mercury traveled a bunch of fans out from Phoenix, and they were sitting behind the basket after the game was over. They were waiting for the players to come out and say hi. So unbeknownst to me, I was talking to a girl next to me, and she had her whole family there, like 2-3 younger brothers. And ironically enough, it was my birthday and her birthday on the same day. And something came up about, hey, Diana Taurasi's out there. See if you can, tell her it's our birthday. So, but James, we're sitting like on the opposite side of the arena, like good luck trying to get her attention. But I tell you though, man, her two brothers tried so hard, like 10, 15 minutes of like whistling, yelling her name. And then all of a sudden, like on the 30th time they tried, it felt like, we see Diana turn around and one of the brothers yells out, hey, it's my sister's birthday and his birthday, pointing at me. We get a very loud happy birthday. Hope you had a great time from the opposite side of the arena. And I'm sitting there like, I just literally had one of my favorite players of all time wish me a happy birthday in person from halfway across the arena. Like, oh my God. So then in 2018, when I went to the League All-Star game in Minneapolis, it was a great trip. I'd love to do it again. We got to go to open practice. So it was a bunch of my Twitter friends of mine who we all linked up, we stayed in similar hotels close by, and we all gathered and we all were hanging out, and Diana's team practiced first. Then they made their rounds and did a bunch of, autograph signings and stuff. So I actually had brought a jersey to have her sign from her time in Phoenix. It was an orange one. And then lo and behold, I have a selfie on my Google Drive, James, and it's literally of Diana holding my phone and taking this picture. It was not very well done. But then I have another friend of mine who got a picture of us getting that selfie. And it's like, holy cow, Diana Taurasi's holding my phone in this picture while I'm having her sign this picture. And man, she was so funny and so laid back. And one of my favorite quotes was my great friend Ben Wagner, who's a Lynx fan. He had an Android, and me and my other friends, Danielle and Jess, who made the trip from the West Coast, we all had iPhones, so she knew how to operate it. She gets Ben's phone, and she's like, man, I don't know how to work this damn thing. It was just so funny. But it was that dry humor, though, that she had. And then one other thing I read, though, was Diana was, I think, on a podcast, was talking to Birdie during because her and Sue kind of do like the Manning cast for the women's Final Four. And something came up about her wearing the number 3. And she got to UConn her freshman year, and she asked Gino, can I wear number 0? That was my number when I played in high school and in AAU. Gino says, Diana, you're not wearing number 0 on this campus. And when she clapped back asking, well, why not? And Gino said, because losers wear number 0. You're going to wear number 3, and you're going to like it. And that's been her number ever since. I'm like, my goodness, what a thing, though, for a coach to say for a young rising star who then, James, became the mayor, the president, El Jefe, El Presidente of Phoenix basketball. Not Devin Booker, not Steve Nash, not Dan Marley, not any of the guys back in the 60s. Diana Lorena Taurasi is the governor, president, head honcho of Phoenix basketball. And if it is, in fact, the last time, James, if the Merc go out against the Lynx. First ballot Hall of Famer. That number is up in the rafters right away next season. And we won't see probably, James, anyone exceed her greatness anytime soon. But, James, maybe your overall thoughts about maybe how you might remember Chino's own Diana Taurasi, if in fact it is the end of the line for her come the end of this season for the Mercury in the WNBA postseason.
I wonder if you remember this. You probably know this, but I remember an interview with her maybe like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago or something, where I think she was a rookie or she was a young player in the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a photo shoot of, the women like, holding the ball around, taking photos or whatever.
Yeah, like a regular media day photo shoot, basically.
But they were dressed in like, women's clothes. And she mentioned right away, looking back, she felt so uncomfortable because that wasn't her.
Oh, I know exactly which one you're talking about. Is it her with the ball in the all white suit with her hair down?
I believe so, but it was just
to interject, James. Yeah. I think you've seen this trend where the social media admin will ask a player to sign a picture, and it's an old picture that they find on like their Twitter account. That was the picture I think you're talking about that Diana had to sign, and she about wanted to rip that thing to shreds. I know exactly which one you're talking about. I'll try and find it real quick.
Yeah, I always remember that because of what she mentioned. Like the league was trying to get her, to look a certain way. Everybody wearing, jeans and spaghetti strap.
Oh, it's gonna be a second, but I found it. Oh my goodness, man! I really can't believe it.
It was just something I remembered from back then, and how she didn't feel comfortable in those clothes or whatever. She wanted to be
a rookie
herself.
In this I mean, she's definitely a rookie in this. Oh yeah, this is it. Yeah, she's definitely a rookie, James, because this is like the only time I've ever recalled her ever having her hair not in the fame bun in her entire career. Honestly, yep, here it is. Thank you, Getty Images, by the way, for this beaut right here. I think this is it, James, right here. Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
This was the picture that they had her, like the old picture of, hey, can you sign this? And she like about lost her, you know what?
Yeah. So for some reason, I am reminded of her in that interview she had where she felt so uncomfortable, and she never wanted to look like that. She wanted to be herself, and the league wanted a certain image back then. But I think
that was 20 years ago, though.
Yeah, I think of the process now, of the progress now of the league, where you could wear whatever the hell you want. You could look however the way you want.
Oh, yeah. I mean, James, look at all the times Dawn Staley has worn an Eagles jersey during the NFL playoffs when she's been coaching at South Carolina.
And the fact that she's wearing like a Letterman jacket coaching games too.
Yes.
It's pretty cool to see that. And
yeah, she's Kim Mulkey. Who else? Pat Summitt had some really good stuff back when she was coaching Tennessee.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
No, that's what I remembered mostly from Dan Taurasi, but also just almost the Mamba mentality she had.
It felt like called her the White Mamba.
Yeah. What I always remember is her and Sue Bird always, jockeying for that West whenever, it wasn't the Sparks with Parker or Leslie. It was always those two going for it.
Yeah, you had San Antonio a couple times, and you had Minnesota in the 2010s kind of get there. Yeah, I mean, a lot of wars, though, between all those franchises at one point in time.
Yeah, the constant, though, has been Taurasi and Bird, and you kind of knew this was going to be her last year. I don't know if they'll, Las Vegas just seems to be too much, but that would be a nice run if they had a run for her to win it all. I don't think it will happen, but yeah, for some reason that picture came up in that whatever interview it was just like I could see that for her because she doesn't want to. She never felt comfortable in those clothes.
And it's like I
She
said,
never.
it's like I said, James, I've never seen her not with her hair in a bun. It's always been in a bun for the whole time that I've seen her play. And even after, it doesn't matter. It's always in a bun every time.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to find something else, but I'm I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I've never seen her dress, any different. And now with social media, you see everybody dressed, like everything. WNBA now has the walkway into the arena, just like the NBA players have. And that's been a great thing. And you've seen sponsorships come out of it. I think of Cameron Brink,
By the way, James, here's
Maybelline.
that selfie I told you about that Diana took with my phone in Minneapolis.
That's awesome.
Part of my head's cut off, though. It's like, you know what? It's an A for effort. It's all that matters.
And I just hope um I hope the league continues to be more are going to the fans. Um, that's the only way you'll get bigger and better. I mean, they're already growing. I mean, this year was a prime example of it. With Caitlin Clark.
She actually took a better one, actually, of all of us together, while one of my friends is trying to get her phone ready for hers. But that's the final product of a selfie she took with my phone, in
That's
case anyone
better.
is curious. It's way better than the first one, that's for sure.
Definitely. Um, I guess my question to you, and again, this goes back to the Reds firing David Bell.
For sure.
Is Ollie Marmol, even though he got extended, just like David Bell, does he get fired after Sunday's last Cardinal game of the season? That's what I'm wondering. I'm going to say yes. I think they're going to follow suit with the Reds just to keep going. I know all year long they've dealt with attendance issues and the hatred for the ownership and the front office. The Cardinal way is no more, and I feel like change is really needed. I know the players like Marmol, but there's just no direction, and I just feel like it's going to happen. What about you?
Yeah, that's a kind of a weird thing, James, that you and I are talking from a second straight year of a dismal St. Louis Cardinals baseball season. Now, again, we can contribute, kind of in a way say, well, it's because, Wainwright retired, Pujols retired, and Yadier retired. Do you think the Cardinals, do I think the Cardinals bite the bullet and can Marmol? Part of me feels like he'll get a shot to start next season, but if they don't do well next year, then I think he's gone. True. But again, though, what do you have at your disposal? Okay, Mason Wynn, that's cool. But can Jordan Walker hit himself out of a brown paper bag or not fall off the boat into the ocean when he's swinging the bat? Arenado's not getting any younger. Goldschmidt's not getting any younger. I what's the sense of direction? And I think you could at least start him as the manager for next season. And if you get off to a wonky start, I don't see how you can bring him back. And I don't care. And like you said, James, I'm with you though. I don't care if you've extended the manager. If he's not doing his job, then get him out of here.
Also, another question I'll say, another topic.
Go ahead.
I just thought about this now. You know how the Lakers like to keep things in-house when they make the decisions? Like you got to be a friend or a family member. Hey, you could be the head coach.
Yeah.
You could be the general manager. Wait, you were somebody's agent? Yeah. Come on. I think I know your answer. But do you think the Cardinals, if they do fire Marmol, do they keep it in-house where they even try Yadier as a manager? Or they go after another Cardinal, player? Like Skip Schumacher.
Yeah, bingo. You just answered your question.
he's done with the Marlins after this year. Do you think they go with someone that knows the Cardinal way, the old way, or
I
do
feel
they
like
try
I can
something different?
promise you this, that if the Cardinals can Ollie Marmol and bring in Skip Schumacher or any guy who played for the Cardinals, that fan base will probably be on fire.
They'll be back and they'll be ready to go. But the only thing is, these organizations that do that, they never get off of that high horse. And I
Yeah,
think
they're stubborn.
you're
They're
always
like
the
me.
one.
They're like me because I'm a May Taurus. I'm a zodiac calendar. I can be stubborn at times. The Lakers and Cardinals are May Tauruses, stubborn as hell,
Yeah, and I
stuck in their
know
own ways.
you're one that doesn't like keeping it in the family. If there's a new outside way to make your team better, you should do it instead of just continuing the same thing over and over again. I know I think you're the one who always mentioned that you hate how organizations are family ran. I
Yeah,
want to
you
say.
got to think outside the box because to me, it's just like cheapening the product. Like the Bengals, the Bears, the Lions. Now, again, the Lions won the division title last season, but like family run ownerships just don't move the needle for me. Like for central time zone schools joining a Pacific and Mountain time zone conference in college athletics.
Yeah, so I guess that was my two things. I was trying to piece together. Of course, you have John Snyder gone from the Blue Jays, and I think I read something earlier where the Blue Jays will finish in last. The last time that happened was 2013.
Sheesh.
So the second year that they went back to blue, but I just wonder who they'll hire as their next manager if they go after an analytical person instead of someone that has already been with the team.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's another topic for another day. But
Yeah, James, and one more thing I wanted to say was about the Padres. They set a brand new franchise record for home attendance. Again, they only
that's
played
right.
80 home games because one of the games was in Seoul, South Korea. 3.31 million fans came to Padre baseball in San Diego this season. Of course, this is James a year removed from Peter Seidler's very unfortunate and very tragic passing around the holidays in 2023. The Padres obviously have honored Peter all season with the heart patch on the jerseys. They've had it up in the clubhouse, in the dugout, at home, and on the road. Fans have given the team a Compete for Pete rally towels that hang on the dugout railing. And I thought, James, it was very cool, and I actually missed it on Sunday because I was at work on Sunday at USD for men's soccer, that after the Padres finished off a sweep of the White Sox, that the Padre players stayed on the field, tipped their caps, applauded the fan base, and of course the fans had a very loud "Beat LA" chant when they left the field. But James, I read a very eye-opening story on Monday from one of my favorite baseball writers, Bill Shakian, who writes for the LA Times. Now, Bill, though, does kind of in a way slight the Padres a little bit every now and then. But this article, James, was all positive about how they drew this many fans. Here they are slashing their payroll by 1/3, trading Soto, letting Snell and Hader walk. They get Michael King and a bunch of nobodies from the Yankees who did their part. Then they get Dylan Cease in March, and they get Luis Ariz. And again, their first 90-win season in 14 years since 2010, and how that they drew. And kind of in a way he compared, Padres and Dodgers and stuff. But then, though, James, there was this very staggering, holy shit quote from Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, who earlier in the week, I guess, or over the weekend, told the LA press, look, we may hate the Padres, but that is the toughest team we've played all season. When is the last time it's ever been said about the San Diego Padres, James? And have it come from that organization up north in LA. Now, I think, though, James, that John Riley actually had a good thing with Saw in Fans Forum, as you'll probably listen or hear from their podcast on Monday. Lee was wondering, Padre fans have traveled very well this season. Will there be any brown and gold up in LA? Who knows? But John had a great point, though, James. It's more about that Padre fans respect the Dodger team, but it's the fan bases who hate each other. And I think that's probably a very fair assessment. But maybe, James, just maybe some candid thoughts about the Padres. Again, 3.31 million fans have come to 80 home games this season. And really, though, James, how the Padres have really embraced that slogan of competing for Peter Seidler this season. And also, I guess, James, the kind of mind-boggling comments from Dave Roberts, who didn't shit upon his hometown franchise in San Diego and actually said the Padres, not the Yankees, not Arizona, the Padres, toughest team that they've played this entire season.
It's true, though, because of the season record as well. That's total respect given. Remember, their players are not fans. They have a players union and all that. So association.
Like I said, James, they're co-workers underneath a umbrella of the company, and they work for a small team within the company's umbrella.
Just remember that whenever they fraternize with people, with each other, they're literally workers. They're not us where we.
I don't care. You're getting paid millions of dollars. Punch them in the face.
Yeah, it definitely never not like that. Yeah, so that's one thing you have to remember about that. I can always remember the statements I heard at the remembrance of Seidler with Machado leading the way there, and wanting to win for Peter. That's why he came here and all that. So it started right away from there. And I remember, I think on Friday, seeing one of those towels. So it's been a rally cry all year long, and God, I hope they win it. They have everything going at the right time. The arms are back for them. I know Suarez is kind of tough to trust right now. I mentioned, I went to the game on Friday, and man, he showed too many fastballs to Sosa.
Yes, he did. Again.
He gave up the home run. I was like, oh crap, you don't want this happening at this time. Going into the postseason, you don't want this happening. And I think it'd be fitting too if the Padres clinch a playoff berth in LA. That'd be really nice to see as well. And then, man, to have to win that series too would be awesome this week. That'd be awesome as well. Man, imagine winning the division too. That'd be amazing to come back like that. I know we're all going for the Rockies next weekend if that happens to come up. Yeah, just about the fan support. There's so many people I never knew that were Padre fans at the games. When I watch the games, on television here, I see everyone. It don't matter who it is. I've never seen that with the Padres, and that's happened since 2021. I mean, that team that was brought together in 2020 captivated people when you couldn't go. I remember the first games that people were allowed to go in 21. I was like,
I was at one of them.
I couldn't believe it. It's like, wait, are the Dodgers here? Are the Giants here? Why is there so many people there? And no, everybody's wearing Padres stuff. And of course, you saw 2022 with, freezing out anybody outside of San Diego County, and you're seeing a true, fan base or, home field advantage for the Padres. That was great. God, there was one more thing I was going to mention, but I forgot. With the Padres, I'm just intrigued by this. Oh, okay. And this will go back to Hacksaw, where it felt like he was wanting him to get fired earlier in the season just because the team was 50-50. But you can kind of tell since the All-Star break, he's kind of changed his tone on AJ Preller.
Executive of the Year. Tell me otherwise.
Yeah. To get the Marlins closer and to get some more arms, to get Martin Perez, who I wanted on the Angels, but the Angels didn't even want to spend on that. They thought they had an abundance of young arms that suck. But to have him there, long relief maybe in the postseason, Perez has been awesome for the Padres. Dylan Cease, up and down, but he's been better
no hitter
as of late. He threw a no hitter there, and that was just another great moment. Yeah, Jackson Merrill, who I mentioned, I think at the game to my friend, I was like, when he made a catch or whatever, I was thinking, man, I cannot think of someone as a rookie get changed positions not once but twice. It was like, hey, we need you to play left field, or we need you to play center field, actually. And his routes to the ball, diving for the catches, jumping for him, whatever the case is, it's almost like he perfected that in like a really, really short time in spring training.
Just incredible.
Yeah, and there's no doubt who should be the NL Rookie of the Year.
Don't get me started, please. It's too late in the day.
Someone like mentioned, oh, Paul Skeens' ERA is under 2. Who cares? The Pirates aren't last. the more valuable players, Merrill, because without him, they're where the Cubs are. 7 games out of the wild card and eliminated. There's no doubt about that. So it's just funny how the media, I think, San Diego media, and then Hacksaw's kind of changed his tone on AJ Preller with all the moves they've gotten. The bench players with Peralta and Solano, who have been really clutch off the bench. That's been
Elias
amazing
Diaz
to see.
And now Nick Ahmed.
And then to get Elias Diaz, and I'm thinking to myself, why do I know that guy? Oh yeah, he won the All-Star. He won the All-Star Game MVP in 2023, hitting the game-winning home run. You get him, and I know Capuano wasn't doing much, but you still have Hishiaki Oka, who's hit, 15, 16 home runs this year. You're solid pretty much everywhere, and you're kind of true without Ha-Seong Kim. Everybody's in their right position when it comes to the infield now. So it's all working out, at least there for everything right now for the Padres. So I know you have the Phillies that just won their division, and they're primed to go back. But man, I would feel confident, if I was a Padre fan right now, seeing them put together what they have. It's just been amazing to see. And again, the fan base, over 3 million, obviously I don't think has ever happened. Even though the prices have gone up, but the intrigue still remains up there. It's amazing. I think I've been to 4 games this year, and so packed, so full. It was so amazing to see, giveaway or not. It's just been amazing to see.
Random Wednesdays at 1 p.m. It's sold out.
That you
Thursday
never
getaway
saw before.
game at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock. It's sold out.
I remember, 2017, 13, 14. Those are hardly attended. I mean, the whole right field bleachers or seats are empty. It's just amazing. When I went on Friday and I was wondering how many people would show up, to the White Sox game, but there was so many. It was sold out. It was amazing. Yeah. I think they had 55 sellouts on the season.
It was 56 this year out of the 80 games at home.
So it was 54 on Friday. I thought I heard that.
Yeah, they sold out the last 6 home games. I went to all 3 versus Houston, and all 3 were sellouts.
By the way, that was great. The game you got to see where Altuve took off his cleat and his sock to show the umpire where the ball hit him in the box.
And then Josh Hader coming out to the chorus of boos and then throwing a wild pitch, his very first pitch of the AB to tie the game.
That's where I wish I was there, because I'd be booing. I would be laughing hysterically. I mean, Altuve looked like a toddler or like a young
hobbit. It looked like a hobbit.
Boy.
What are you talking about? A hobbit.
A little boy, like not wanting to go outside and taking
his shoes and socks off. Little boy who spilled the milk and didn't want to admit it. Yes.
It was just a great. You've seen so many scenes like that at Petco Park where the walk-offs have been amazing.
Oh, I've been to. Let's see. I saw Higashioka's walk-off homer against Oakland, and then Jurickson Profar with that insane comeback versus Washington. But Jesse Winker fight with the fan, and then the next night was, they beaned Profar. They didn't throw him out of the game, or they didn't throw Profar out of the game, and so on and so forth. And I think it's the only 2 walk-offs I've seen. But I've seen a lot of wins this year, and every game, James, sellout crowd every night. I mean, it's just been incredible down here. I mean, and I think, James, regardless of the end of year result, good, bad, or ugly or indifferent, this is probably one of the best seasons I've seen in Padre history that I've been a part of. And me and my 2 friends that I went to the game with on Monday or on Tuesday, we talked about that. Here we're all born in the mid '90s, coming out of the fire sales of Sheffield and McGriff and Tony Fernandez and Joe Carter. And then here we have the '96 Padres. We have the '98 Padres. The Padres who played the final year at Qualcomm Stadium, the Padres who opened up Petco, the '05 team, the '06 team, even the '07 team, even the 2010 team that had imploded in the last weeks of the season. Still one of the best teams, arguably, last team to win 90 games in club history. Then obviously we went through the dark ages of beyond '07 till 2020. And really I think, James, honestly, 2017, 2018, when they first got Eric Hosmer. That was like the first big puzzle piece that came here. I'd actually say 2015, when the Seidler ownership group really took over control. Then it bared fruit 2019, getting Manny, not having fans in 2020. But I recall, though, James, running around the block of my house, basically, when they clinched the playoff berth. Like, I've not seen this since I was in 6th grade. And then my friends and I staged watch parties for all the rounds of the playoffs that year. Then we had the dismal 2021. Then we had 2022. I was at Not Scary Farm when they beat the Dodgers to clinch the berth to the NLCS. I almost ran out of the park and left my gal pal behind because I'm like, we beat San Diego beat the Dodgers in the postseason. Then we had to live through last season. And then this year, though, James, has just been beyond insane. And I kind of, James, I don't know, man, but this has been arguably one of my favorite years outside of '98 that I can recall where, and I think, James, what Bill Shakian also wrote, though, in his story, and he always makes a great point to say this is the only major league pro sports team in town in MLB, the NFL, the NBA, NHL. We have MLS coming here in 2025, and they already have a great following, but it's going to be tough to overtake the Pods. And they have become the single hottest ticket now in San Diego sports. And I can say that, wholeheartedly as a lifelong San Diegan and a born and raised native. Now that we don't have to worry about the NFL, now we put all of our faith and trust in the Padres, and they have, in a way, James, just delivered. Now it's all about getting to the finish line in October.
That's what I was going to ask you, too, is this your favorite year just based on what the team has done? And because I was hearing something before the game on their pregame show where it's like, do you take this team over 98, 96, whatever, 84? And I'm like, no, you just wait till the results of the team,
You wait for the end results, but it's certainly, I mean, it's hard to say. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, 2022 is still a pretty good team, but then again, Soto's gone, Bell's gone, Drury's gone, Hader's gone, Snell's gone. It's still a good season. But I think this year, now that you have a division title, at least in the balance, it may not go your way. But regardless, James, you're guaranteed a playoff berth one way or another. Again, I think, though, James, I will say it. Regardless of the result, good, bad, whatever it might be, and it may be the same movie I've watched my whole life when it comes to San Diego sports not winning at all. This kind of feels like my '98 team that I can actually embrace. Like, again, I was 4 or 5 years old when we were last in the World Series. It's been that long, but Greg Vaughn, Steve Finley, Tony Gwynn, Carlos Hernandez, and that whole team, James, those guys are still like living, breathing superheroes to me. I will go to my grave saying that Finley should have had a Gold Glove every damn year he was a Padre from '95 till '98. But this team feels like they're kind of like my new '98 Padres, like watching Jackson Merrill grow from a Class A to Double A player to a bona fide Rookie of the Year potentially. And not just that, though, James. Think of this, though. The rookie RBI record stood from 1978 until now. That's off the board. The all-time home run record in franchise history stood for 50 years. That's been rewritten. There's a chance the rookie home run record gets rewritten again by Jackson Merrill. There might be a chance that Dylan Cease might get close to maybe catching Kevin Brown's strikeout record. This, that's a lot right there, James, that could happen, though, or has happened already, as I've already said, regarding Benito Santiago's rookie RBI record. Jackson Merrill has that. The late, great Nate Colbert's home run record in franchise history. That's been shattered by Manny Machado. Right now, there's a chance that Renfroe's record for rookie home runs might be caught up to by Jackson Merrill. Like, this season, man, has been just, from the word go until where we're at now, has just been arguably one of my favorite seasons. And again, I think it's one of my favorite seasons, James, regardless of the result. Because I think, James, that this year proves that gap is closing between the Dodgers and Padres, regardless of who's wearing that Dodger blue jersey on the other side of the field.
It's amazing, too, real quick, just how A.J. Preller, despite the payroll loss that they had because of the television issues,
Peter's passing,
and then the trades that they made, Soto for basically Michael King, and then Drew Thorpe for Dylan Cease, to get Dylan Cease there, and then to have all those deadline trades.
Getting Luis Ariz.
Yeah, and then Luis Ariz, who I love, he's like the 1%er of MLB, where I'm not just going to try to hit home runs every time. I'm going to spray the ball around and not strike out. I think he had a thing where he's only struck out maybe twice since the All-Star break or something like that.
I happened to be at the game where the streak got broken, sadly. Yeah. The whole team was like, oh.
But just think about that. Like, everybody else swings and misses and strikes out.
150 plus plate appearances that he went without striking out.
That's just nowadays. That's amazing.
Tony Gwynn's record is 170.
Wow.
So he was pretty damn close to setting that record too.
Oh, and also before I get to the White Sox, other from Tony. Oh yeah, I know the answer. It's Ray Steve Finley. But someone was asking me who's your favorite Padre that isn't Tony Gwynn? I'm like, I don't even know. I mean,
I'd take it a step further. Anybody not named Tony Gwynn or Trevor Hoffman?
Yeah. When I first got here, for some reason, I liked Mike Cameron.
Gold Glove winner, and when he was in San Diego,
just for that short time, I know. But for some reason, I was like, you know what? I've always, I never really got to see him play. I know he was in Seattle, then he went to wherever, and now he's here. And for some reason, I liked him. But I really like Luis Ariz. I was like, just because he's different than everybody else. I guess my final thought would be, we mentioned the White Sox in their pursuit, unfortunately, of history.
Man.
The Angels have a chance. Well, they've already avoided 100 losses. They're trying to avoid 95 losses. Will tie their franchise record in 68 and 80 of 95 losses. But they're trying to give the White Sox today and throughout the series their 121st loss, and it would be breaking the record of the 62 Mets that went 40 and 120. So the Angels are trying to make it happen. I guess that's something to play for. It'll never be easy, of course, but again, watching that White Sox team from 3 rows from the dugout, I was just like, I feel so bad for these guys. None of them want to be here. The young guys don't mind, but you had Luis Robert.
Your Benintendi's, your Andrew Vaughn's, Gavin Sheets, Luis Robert Jr.'s. What? They're like, why are we even bothering, guys?
Yeah, I wasn't even supposed to be here. I was supposed to be traded. And then Garrett Crochet. I never really got to watch him pitch up close, but man, he's got some great stuff. He
That whole
added a
thing,
pitch
though,
too.
James, before we get to final thoughts, that was a puzzling scenario I heard that Don and Mud brought up on the Padres.tv broadcast because he didn't get traded and because of, how he said that, well, you just ruined your trade value by, by popping off saying, well, I better get a contract extension, blah, 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 blah. They said, though, that the agreement was when that trade did not happen, okay, Garrett, throw 4 innings, but we're not shutting you down. You're going to still pitch for us. And he got pulled after the 4th inning. That's when the Padres took advantage and won the game.
Yeah, and my friend was wondering, man, I don't know if we could hit Garrett Crochet. And I didn't know about the 4 inning rule. I'm thinking to myself, wait, who the hell is one? Why is Garrett Crochet not in the game and he's pitching a shutout? And thank you for answering my thought here. And then I didn't even know Manny Machado was already over 100 RBIs.
It was
I
a
didn't
very
even know
weird
that.
thing. Like they changed the ruling on an RBI like in game 1 against Houston that I didn't even know about. I mean, because he hit a double to bring in the run. Like, how was it not ruled an RBI if it was an RBI double? But I guess there was something else that happened maybe in San Francisco before they came and played the Astros. But yeah, he's over 100 RBIs and is probably going to have a 30-homer season.
That's like all you could ask.
On top of the fact that he broke a 50-year record set by the late, great Nate Colbert at Jack Murphy Stadium.
That's just amazing. Again, I'm just intrigued by I think I went 4 times and I never wanted to leave. I never want the game to be over. Totally opposite from the Angel games where I was looking toward going back south and home.
And James, the only Angel game I went to that saw an Angels win was against the San Diego Padres in early June.
Did you go Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday?
No, I went Monday because the Padres didn't know how to run the flipping bases that night. It was ridiculous.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
But hey, it was either I won or I won. So I'll take it. And it'll be fun next year because it'll be Angels Padres in San Diego the week of my 31st birthday. It'll be May 12th, May 13th, May 14th. And then May 16th, 17th, 18th, the Padres will play those hated Seattle Mariners when I turn 31 on May 18th at home.
It's during the week when the Angels come?
Yeah, it's Monday through Wednesday. And then the Mariners come in for the weekend series as part of the new MLB rivalry weekend.
Oh, I saw that. That's right.
So my 31st birthday is the Vetter Cup against the Mariners because now it's going to be a 3-game set versus the interleague rivals this season, home and home.
I was going to ask you real quick, should Mike Trout go the Bryce Harper way and switch his position to prolong his career?
I could see him being a full-time DH. If it keeps him healthy and in the lineup, I say you go for it because I don't see him getting traded. I know people say, quit being loyal. I don't think Mike's that kind of guy, and I would hate to see another one of those big-name guys leave that market to go elsewhere and chase more money or chase the ring. Like, they don't make Tony Gwynn's anymore like they used to or Cal Ripken Jr.'s anymore. I know it's not the sexy thing, James, but I don't see it happening. I think he becomes a full-time DH or maybe he moves to a corner outfield spot, but who becomes your new center fielder?
Moniak. So many questions.
But I could see him being full-time DH, though.
Yeah. It's just funny, though, because like 2 months ago I posed a question, and all of a sudden last week it becomes a national topic. I'm thinking to myself, oh, man, I should have put it out there louder. But it was only because Bryce went over a milestone or something. And, people thought, oh, well, he's without that position change, he's definitely not the same.
Well, I mean, he, though, did it because of Tommy John surgery. I think it's a little bit different than when he just been beat up, banged up, chewed up, and spit out by calf and knee and back problems. Tommy John's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
With that in mind, James, as we roll towards the 2.5-hour mark of our program, and we could just keep going all night if you want to, my dude. I mean, because I'm off till Wednesday at work. No, I need to go to bed pretty soon. James, your final thoughts for the night's program. What do you got?
I love talking today. Again, I'll be at work with all these thoughts, and I can't say them out loud, or people will think I'm talking to myself. So it's always good to be here with you and talking. And be sure to watch all the other C2C shows. I think game night tomorrow.
Si, senor. We don't know what it will be yet, but I'm hoping it's I'm hoping for some immaculate grid tomorrow, honestly.
I'll be down for that because, I've done some research on players.
Maybe
and
another round of fast money, though, man. That was a lot of fun on 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, hopefully I don't sell and lose. That was bad. I don't know what happened, but hopefully this time I'll be bulletproof.
Yes, folks. C2C game night will come your way later on Tuesday around 9 o'clock local time in San Diego. Again, we'll have our whole panel join us, and we'll spin our wheel of death, and it will be either the Immaculate Grid, the ultimate grid game of sports knowledge, match game, or it will be Family Feud's Fast Money. Again, folks, final thoughts from me again. Once more, thanks for hanging out tonight on this now Tuesday morning. Again, I know that James and I came on about a half hour earlier because, again, Bro Code had to move their program due to scheduling conflicts on Monday. So, again, we'll look for us going to be back with you next Monday as well on September 30th at 11 o'clock Pacific time. A big thank you to both Kevin Cherry and our EDL Commissioner, Josh Fontaine. Should note real quick, folks, that we start the postseason on Saturday for the Elite Draft League here in San Diego. Josh and I are working on a Puck and Roll podcast probably on Friday to be a bit of a playoff primer. We have a lot of great announcements coming your way as it boils down to our regular season top scorer and some more playoff updates as more time does go on. So again, we'll have an update or hopefully have a Puck and Roll podcast with myself and Mr. Commish, Josh Fontaine, hopefully Friday before we get to our playoff game day on Saturday here in Escondido in San Diego. With that, folks, for the entire cast and crew, for my good man James Gonzalez, yours truly, Cal McClurg, saying good day, good night, or good morning to you folks joining us here on C2C. We'll see you folks back here for C2C game night on Tuesday at around 9 p.m. local time here on C2C, folks. Till then, have a good one. Bye-bye.